Good Tuesday morning. It is now 1 a.m. Thank you for being with us and trusting us as we all track Hurricane Milton. I'm Alexa Lorenzo. That's Kirsten Delgado taking over for Greg and Martha now.
Yes, we're going to be with you, of course, with continuous coverage leading up to the storm. Of course, things have slowed down a bit. We're still at a Category 5, though, this morning as we take a look outside, Alexa.
Yeah, we are seeing heavy traffic on our roadways. Lots of people heading inland and north from the West Coast. This is a live look at I-75 moving northbound in Ocala. We have that shoulder open for use, and this is something that we saw coming. We heard from the governor that if those highway speeds slowed to under 40 miles per hour, they would open the shoulder, and they have done that in portions of Central Florida for that highway use. A lot of people heeding these warnings. We've heard continuously from our meteorologists and our meteorologist David Heckert in Severe Weather Center 9.
It's something that we knew was going to happen. The governor mentioned it. You know, people are literally evacuating for their safety, as they should. And so a lot of people from the West Coast are coming up to Central Florida, through Central Florida, up into Gainesville, Marion County, Tallahassee, those areas.
Yeah, I know Kevin Guthrie, the EM director here for the state of Florida, said largest evacuation since Irma. That makes sense. A lot of the West Coast Zone A, Zone B, in some areas, I believe Pinellas County Zone C, being asked to evacuate. So we're moving a lot of people out of the West Coast, and that's why I-75 is so congested here at 1 in the morning. Well, good morning, everyone. We are still watching Milton, 165-mile-an-hour Category 5 major hurricane. It's not as strong as it was earlier, but it doesn't really matter. It's still a major issue here. Now, the eye has begun its eye wall replacement cycle. So we think in the next 6 hours or so, it's probably just going to kind of level off with wind and with pressure. It may actually weaken a little bit more here in the next few hours. But the only thing an eye wall replacement cycle really does is just kind of expand the wind field. So the eye earlier was only about 4 miles wide. When the new eye is completed here in, again, about 6 hours or so, it's going to be a little bit bigger than 4 miles, I guarantee that. Hurricane Hunter is still in the system, even at this very early morning. You can see the pressure was around 919, but it's gone up to 927. Again, an indication that we have an eye wall replacement cycle underway there. Hurricane warnings remain in effect for the majority of Central Florida, with the exception of the I-95 corridor. When you watch Brian here at 5 a.m., he's going to have this all in a bright red, which means the hurricane warning will be in effect for all of us. What does this mean? This means all of us in Central Florida need to prepare for hurricane force winds, 74-mile-per-hour winds or greater, as we head into late Wednesday night through Thursday morning. The forecast track, the forecast thinking has not changed much. That's very unfortunate for the west coast of Florida. Still a Category 5 Tuesday morning. Some dry air and some wind shear up towards the north will weaken the system, and it could weaken it significantly. But we're still talking about a Category 3 major hurricane here Wednesday evening, somewhere between the Nature Coast, Tampa Bay, or the Sun Coast. Somebody on the west coast of Florida, this is going to be an incredibly strong and powerful hurricane as it makes landfall. And it looks like the core will likely make it all the way across Central Florida. This is not a system that just kind of falls apart here. We're going to be talking about hurricane force winds all the way inland here Thursday morning, and then still as we move into Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. Here's the updated wind field on Milton. So the first shade you're going to see here is this area of gold. That's when the winds really begin to pick up. After we get into that gold shade, that's when any hurricane preparations outside, you kind of need to wrap it up, take it indoors. And you can see here by Wednesday evening, we're all in this shade of gold, and then this darker shade of gold, almost this brown shade, that's where winds are above 60 miles an hour. That's when we start talking about power outages. So you can see here by 9 o'clock, it's still in the Tampa Bay area, but notice how this core quickly works its way through the area. We're probably going to have an area of red, which is hurricane force winds, right along this line here. So goes down to a Cat 3 to Category 1 with 80 to 100 plus mile-an-hour winds at times, especially right along this red line. And that's going to mean for extensive power outages. And look at noon on Thursday. We still have some strong wind gusts out there, especially along coastal sections of Flagler and Volusia County. So what do you kind of need to know here about Milton tonight? Category 5 hurricane now. It's likely going to be a Category 3 hurricane at landfall. A landfall looks like around the midnight hour on Thursday, and we're going to be dealing with hurricane conditions for all of Central Florida. I cannot stress this enough. This is not going to be Debbie. This is not going to be Helene. This is not going to be a system that's going to somehow scoot its way up towards the north or scoot down towards South Florida. This is going to be an impactful system here in Central Florida. That's why today's a very important day to get your hurricane preparations underway. We will have much more here coming up. Alexa?
David, thank you. Of course, getting gas has always been the big challenge when storms of this magnitude are approaching.
And Channel 9's Sabrina Majori joins us in Kissimmee as she's trying to find gas and keeping it up to date with where you are in Osceola County.
This gas station off of Osceola Parkway in Kissimmee has remained pretty much busy. You can see that there are still people here filling up their cars. We've also noticed throughout the day folks coming in filling up individual gas tanks to take home for their generators. Now, this particular gas station still has gas. We spoke to the general manager and he told us their supply is good. They were busy today and they expect it to be even busier tomorrow. But I want to show you, when you go straight across Michigan, you see there's another gas station in the distance. If you make out in the distance, you can see the gas pumps are covered. That's because that gas station has run out of gas, and it is something we're starting to see in Kissimmee and in Osceola County overall. There's just been such an elevated demand for gas that some of the stations are having some issues. Something I also encountered in Orange County as I was heading into work this morning. Now, again, at this particular gas station in Kissimmee, the owner does say that they have gas, that they should be all set for tomorrow. If you are planning on going ahead and still making those last-minute preps, getting gas should be on your list, and there's still time to do that. Reporting in Kissimmee, I'm Sabrina Majori, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And I certainly had an issue getting gas myself. The gas station by my house, I didn't feel like looking for any other options, so I ended up paying for premium only because it's what they had available, $4 a gallon, but had to make sure I was good to get to and from, you know, the house with our coverage, and is what it is.
Had to pay the price. Yeah, the one by my house, it's not a big gas station, 6 pumps. It's been out since 12 yesterday, noon yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're currently starting to see some of those additional resources come through. Looking now, the Florida Highway Patrol out of Tampa is now assisting with some fuel truck escorts to ensure that evacuees get what they need for that safety.
Yeah, in one of the governor's press conferences, he mentioned they were going to be having 389,000 gallons of fuel. In addition to that, millions more gallons of gas and diesel. He's requested coming into the state, so that's a part of that effort that's making its way here.
Yeah, we'll have those pictures for you up in just a few moments now. Well, power trucks are also making their way across Central Florida in preparation for Hurricane Milton.
Channel 9's Alex Walker is in studio with more.
I was able to catch up with David Turk. He is the Deputy Secretary at the Department of Energy. He said it's all hands on deck from the federal government as they prepare for Hurricane Milton. He said they plan to exercise their muscle and have utility workers ready to go for when Milton makes landfall. Here's video we captured. Power trucks rolling out across Central Florida. Utility companies in the region are pre-staging personnel, materials, and equipment to get ready for this storm. David Turk told me over 50,000 personnel from 41 states and Canada responded to power outages during Hurricane Helene. They're planning a massive response from Milton as well. He gave this message to the people of Central Florida as this storm approaches.
The main message for folks waiting for the second storm to hit is we're working on it, we're prepared, we're doing everything we can and taking all the lessons of the past so that we can be as helpful as we possibly can going forward. And I think what all of us need to do as Americans, as we do in the best spirit of these kinds of things, is let's all roll up our sleeves and help not only our immediate families, our immediate communities, but think about others who are even less fortunate than we are, even if our lives are upended.
Powerful message there. Turk said this will be a collective response, meaning utilities helping other utilities. They are recruiting as many people as possible to Florida to get power back as quickly as possible after Milton moves through. Remember, a lot of these linemen are coming from other states that were working for Hurricane Helene in the Carolinas and Georgia. And now once they're done there, they're coming down to Florida to help for Milton. Back to you.
Alex, thank you. And as this powerful storm approaches, folks are understandably concerned, but some flood-prone communities are especially on edge.
They are filling up those sandbag stations, doing whatever they can to get what they need to protect their homes. Channel 9's Jeff Deal spent the day in some of those flood-prone areas as people are getting ready in Seminole County.
On the shores of Lake Jessup,
The last time we had big trees go down, we couldn't get out of here with a vehicle.
Don Kinch is bracing for the impact of Hurricane Milton. This flood-prone area of Oviedo was buried underwater in 2022 during Hurricane Ian.
It was bad. We have boats going up and down the road here, motorboats.
Just 2 doors down, mold and mildew cover the walls. This home still waiting to be rebuilt as the homeowner waits to find out if a FEMA grant will come through. Folks along Lake Harney are bracing too.
We had Ian come through, which, was devastating to everybody.
Mike Thomas remembers what it was like. When we were here in 2022, we had to be driven in on a flatbed truck. Homes were surrounded by water, cars flooded out. Mailboxes just poking above the surface. Many people were using kayaks and canoes to get out.
We have to all stick together as a community and pull people out of the holes that they're in and connect their power for them and provide ice, provide water, food.
In his community, there are now stakes in the ground lining the road. As the water levels get high, this will help neighbors and emergency vehicles know where the road is. Last time they saw the county put them out was Hurricane Ian. They're hoping they won't see the devastation they saw then.
Pretty concerned. We just saw the sheriff coming through setting markers on the road, so they're planning on the roads going under.
Jeff Deal, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Certainly a concern for so many.
And you can see right here a live look at traffic coming on I-75. You can see people moving northbound trying to get out of evacuation zones. Other people maybe not in an evacuation zone, but worried what they may see if they stay. Tolls are now suspended across West and Central Florida. Tolls also suspended in Alligator Alley. We know a lot of people also making the decision to go south and head to Broward County or Miami-Dade County.
All right, it is 1:12 on this Tuesday morning. We'll be right back with more continuous coverage here on Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. It is 1:15 on this Tuesday morning, our final day of preps across Florida for now Category 5 Hurricane Milton. Thanks for being with us. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. So with that, let's get over to a certified meteorologist, David Heckert, as we take a live look as a lot of people fleeing towards Marion County in our northern part of our coverage area, really hoping to evacuate from this storm's path. Of course, the governor spoke about this, that people would be evacuating up through Central Florida, here in northern parts of our county, of our coverage area, into Gainesville, into Tallahassee to get away from the impacts of the storm.
It's without a doubt, David, we were talking earlier, the largest evacuation we've seen since 2017, since Irma. People have listened and they're taking action early.
And rightfully so. I mean, we got a pretty significant hurricane threat here for the west coast of Florida. It's going to hit a very populated area. Helene was a more lightly populated area. Perry, the Tallahassee area. We're talking about millions of people along the west coast. And here locally, this is going to be a very significant impact for us here in Central Florida. Okay, so if you've just been out and about today, maybe doing some hurricane preps, just turning on the television, here's the latest on Milton. Category 5 major hurricane. Winds have come down a little bit, 165 miles an hour. It was 180 earlier this evening. So we think what's going on is an eyewall replacement cycle. I'll talk more about that here in just a second. Pressure currently sitting at 914 millibars. Unfortunately, the forecast thinking, how where we think all this is going to go down hasn't changed much. It still looks like it's going to be a Category 5 hurricane through Tuesday. Then it starts feeling the impacts of some dry air and wind shear. So we're down to a Category 3 storm here on Wednesday evening. But listen to that sentence I just said. We're down to a Category 3 hurricane. We still got a major hurricane on our hands here, and the threat of a very significant strike, especially a storm surge event, is really increasing now for someone in the Nature Coast, Tampa Bay, or the Sun Coast. A lot of that will depend on the exact landfall track. But here locally, even well inland, we're going to be dealing with a significant wind event, we think, potentially significant flooding for some of us. And then also we could be dealing with storm surge along our east coast. So let's talk about this eyewall replacement cycle that's going on right now. What's it all mean? So what's happening right now is we have an eye. The eye is incredibly small. Around 4 miles was measured earlier this evening. And then an eye wall surrounds that eye. That's where the worst wind, the worst rain is in any hurricane? Well, with systems that are very, very small and very, very early in age, remember Milton was in a hurricane 36 hours ago, eventually they kind of spin like a top and the winds begin to kind of almost expand a little bit, and that creates a second eye wall that begins to develop. That's what's going on right now. Once that second eye wall becomes closed, it completely surrounds the first eye wall. It basically just kind of chokes that eye wall off, and the second eye wall becomes the dominant eye wall. Now, two things happen in the eye wall replacement cycle, which takes around 6 hours. One, the eye becomes larger. So we're not going to have a 4-mile eye here tomorrow heading into the, say, 8, 9 a.m. when Brian's with you. It's going to be a substantially wider eye. But secondly, and more importantly, the wind field expands, and that's going to be the issue here. We may go through another eye wall replacement cycle between now and landfall, possibly a third one. We'll see. But the wind field's going to continue to expand here as these eye wall replacement cycles continue with this storm. So Polk County, let's talk about the impacts here. You're going to be very close to landfall, so that means a very significant threat for wind gusts over 90 miles an hour. Worst weather here is probably going to be Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, and then some improvement heading into Thursday morning. 4 to 8 inches of rainfall in parts of Sumter and Lake counties here. Again, worst weather Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening through Thursday morning. Possibly some wind gusts above 90 miles an hour, especially, say, southern Sumter, southern sections of Lake County. In sections of Osceola County, we're going to be dealing with power loss, tree damage. Looks like the worst weather overnight through the morning hours on Thursday. Big gradient in the rainfall, 4 inches possibly near down towards the south into parts of Yeehaw Junction. 6-8 inches of rain, I think, in the more populated areas like Celebration and Kissimmee. In parts of Orange County, again, worst weather will probably be overnight Wednesday into the morning hours on Thursday. There is going to be power loss in the city of Orlando. There's going to be power loss across much of Orange County. We should start preparing for that no matter where you live. Wind gusts over 80 miles an hour, 6 to 9 inches of rain. That is going to result in some flooding. Seminole County, kind of a similar setup to Orange County. Power loss, tree damage is going to be a big concern. Worst weather early morning on Thursday. Wind gusts over 80 miles an hour. Now let's talk about the coastline. We do have a storm surge watch in effect. We think of Gulf systems as a West Coast system, but this one's going to be powerful enough to potentially produce 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. That's a substantial surge along our coastline. 6 to 9 inches of rain, could have some wind gusts over 85 miles an hour. And finally, Volusia and parts of Flagler counties. Here we could be dealing with a 3 to 5 foot storm surge, but I want you to notice these wind gusts over 85 miles an hour. As the system exits, we're going to be dealing with some significant onshore flow, and this could linger through, say, Thursday afternoon in Daytona, Ormond Beach, back through the Palm Coast area. So keep that in mind. Almost a second event could be developing back here into parts of Volusia and Flagler County. So let me kind of break down preparations. Today is the last full day to get hurricanes preparations completed. If you have outdoor things you need to get done, today's going to be the day. Once the sun comes up, get to it, because on Wednesday things will go downhill. There may be a window in the morning that you can kind of finalize some things around the house, but outdoor stuff needs to be done today. Wind and rain will be increasing. We will begin the power outage, we think, as early as Wednesday evening, and then Wednesday night, Thursday. That's when the worst impacts are going to be, along with the threat for some beach surge. I do want to show you the 7-day forecast here. So again, we will be talking about lower rain chances tomorrow. Worse of the weather late Wednesday into Thursday. If there's any good news in all of this, is the fact that some much drier and cooler is going to work its way in. So as we kind of recover from this for the weekend, we're going to be talking about temperatures in the low to mid 80s and a minimal threat for rain. So some at least silver lining in all of this, but the threat for significant impacts in the Florida Peninsula continues to track higher and higher, Kristen and Alexa, and we're going to be talking about this for the next couple of days. Again, today is an important day to get your hurricane preparations kind of wrapped up.
All right, David, thank you so much. We've been reaching out to our local hospitals, too, just to learn how they're preparing to keep patients safe during Hurricane Milton.
Advent Health told us it's deploying extensive safety precautions. It's stockpiled thousands of gallons of water. Generators are standing by for emergency power, and sandbags are prepared to secure doors and windows. They tell us all hospitals and freestanding ERs are open for community health needs.
Meantime, Orlando Health is reminding its staff to review their hurricane management plan that places rush orders for additional supplies for each facility. It also creates a staffing plan for each site to continue to deliver care. Those sites also have at least 3 to 7 days of food inventory, making sure there's enough food for patients, staff, and visitors. Orlando Health is also working with its engineering departments to secure the buildings. Meantime, if you have an RV and you're looking for a place to evacuate, you may actually consider heading to Atlanta.
Yeah, the Atlanta Motor Speedway is now opening its campgrounds for Hurricane Milton evacuees. There's space available for RVs as well as pop-up campers and tents. People will be able to access a nearby shower as well. There's a limited number of camping spaces with water, power, and sewer hookups for a fee of $35 per night. It's something that we've seen our Speedway, Daytona International Speedway, do when other areas are impacted from storms. So it's nice to see now Atlanta paying the favor.
Well, the reality is that anytime there's a storm, right, there's always reciprocity, right? Anytime we have a storm, we have linemen come from other parts of the country to come help us, and we actually help out when they have other disasters in parts of the country, whether that be, you know, obviously not hurricanes, typically in like Kentucky, right? But like, you know, tornadoes and that sort of thing. Any natural disaster, we also send our people to help. So this is just, like you said, Atlanta returning the favor.
Absolutely. And here locally, theme parks are always busy, but right now we're waiting to see how they'll be affected. A few resorts across Central Florida have already announced closures as they anticipate Hurricane Milton.
Legoland has announced they're closing on Wednesday and Thursday, but as of right now, the Legoland Hotel will remain open at limited capacity. Meantime, on the Gulf Coast, Busch Gardens Tampa is closing starting tomorrow through Thursday. Officials there will be updating their status of reopening on social media, so just watch out there. Meantime, here at home, Gatorland has announced they're closing Wednesday and Thursday, and the same goes for the Central Florida Zoo and Botanical Gardens.
So on that list, obviously, you see Disney World is missing, Universal. We are keeping in touch with their leaders to see what we could see for City Walk, Disney Springs, and of course the major parks.
Yeah. And today you can actually call 211 for help during Hurricane Milton.
Heart of Florida United Way is partnering with the Hurricane Helpline to connect you to important services. They can give you information on shelters, sandbags, food, and even offer emotional support. It's a free and confidential service. It's available 24/7 all year long.
And while you pick up your hurricane supplies today and you're finishing up this last day of prep, One Blood does hope that you have time to stop and donate blood.
The organization says there's an urgent need for blood donations. They stress that it's important to get blood to hospitals before landfall. Hurricanes can get in the way of blood collections for days. The organization says all blood types are needed, but they especially are in need of O negative and O positive, as well as platelets. Volusia County is now putting several areas under emergency evacuation orders. The county manager stressed the areas that need to take precautions and evacuate.
Due to the conditions, as Clint just mentioned, we're issuing an evacuation order for areas east of the Intercoastal Waterway, those in manufactured and mobile homes, those in low-lying areas, and other areas prone to flooding, and for those at campsites and RV recreational vehicle parks. This will go into effect Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. We're also coordinating with our cities to evacuate properties that are still deemed vulnerable from previous storm events.
The county manager also said Volusia will have multiple emergency shelters available starting at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. You can see those locations here on your screen, but the shelter at the fairgrounds will be the only one that is pet friendly.
And it's important to mention Volusia County has enacted a curfew. That curfew goes into effect at 8 tonight, and it will be lifted at, 8 on Wednesday, and it'll be lifted 8 a.m. on Thursday.
All right, it is 1:26 on this Tuesday morning. We'll be with you on this continuous coverage as folks evacuate to safety. We'll have more after the break here on Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. It is now 1:30 on this Tuesday morning as we continue to track Hurricane Milton. Thanks for being with us. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. Let's get over to certified meteorologist David Hecker to take a live look here at I-75 northbound. This is at mile marker 331. Very busy for 1:30 in the morning, and that's because this is likely a lot of people evacuating their homes on the Gulf Coast, making their way up through central Florida into Marion County in our northern coverage area, up into Gainesville and Tallahassee, just to get away from whatever Milton brings their area.
And this is something, David, that I had started to see yesterday around 8 in the morning. So that's 2.5 hours before those tolls were suspended. People are really taking this one seriously.
Yeah, and that's good. And history has shown that today is going to be the day even more people will get rolling out of the Tampa Bay, Suncoast area. It's not going to get any easier to move around I-75 or I-4 likely later on today. Here at home, let's kind of take a step back and talk about what Milton is and what Milton was over the last 12 to 18 hours. It's a very impressive Category 5 major hurricane. If you're new to the state of Florida, the Sanford-Simpson scale, which how we rate hurricanes, it starts at Category 1, goes up to 5. So this is 5 out of 5. This is a very strong storm. In fact, this is the strongest Atlantic storm since Hurricane Wilma back in 2005. It has the second lowest pressure earlier this evening in the Gulf of Mexico since 1979. That's when we have reliable records on that stat. And the second strongest winds in the Gulf since 1950. So we are not talking about a typical run-of-the-mill hurricane. We are talking about a significant, almost historic storm. And you can see here, it is still very, very impressive on satellite winds of 165 miles an hour. We'll get another update from the National Hurricane Center here in about 15 minutes with the 2 a.m. advisory. Pressure 914, the pressure dropped below 900 millibars. And there's only about 5, maybe 6 hurricanes in the history of the Atlantic Basin that have dropped below 900 millibars. Now, I don't want to panic anyone on this, but I do want to signify this is a very, very significant hurricane, and it is heading towards Florida. Hurricane warnings in effect for the majority of the region. The dark red shading, that's hurricane watches. Those are going to be converted to hurricane warnings here by about 5 a.m. would be my guess. So all of us are going to be dealing with hurricane conditions as we head into that late Wednesday through Thursday time period. The forecast thinking, if you're just joining us this morning, unfortunately has not changed much. Still going to be a major hurricane as we head through Wednesday. Then it begins to weaken. It's going to feel the effects of some dry air and also some wind shear off towards the north here. But even though it's going to weaken, it's only going to weaken, we think, to a Category 3 Wednesday evening. And here's the forecast cone. We could be talking about a strike anywhere from the Nature Coast, Tampa Bay, down through the Sun Coast here. That is still to be determined. But we do know someone on the west coast of Florida is going to be dealing with a very significant, and I mean very significant, strike with this system. Then it moves rapidly inland, and we're going to be dealing with here in central Florida some significant winds as the core of the hurricane floats through the region. You can see here Thursday morning, Category 1 storm south of Daytona. Then it begins to work its way out into parts of the Atlantic waters. These are updated in-house Futurecast computer model. We'll start the clock here 5:30. This rain band right here, a couple miles really keyed in on this. This could be the first band that really gets everyone's attention. That's why it's important for everyone to kind of be hunkered down in your safe location as we head into the early evening hours on Wednesday. There's some indications this band could really pack a punch. Probably going to be talking about landfall here in the very late evening, early overnight, again, somewhere along the west coast of Florida. Then it quickly works its way northward. Where the track is and just north of it, that's where we're going to be talking about some very, very significant rainfall. And south of the track, we're probably going to see some dry air sneak in, so we may not have much rainfall down into southern sections of Osceola, southern sections of Brevard County. You can see here at daybreak, that could be when some of the worst winds impact portions of Metro Orlando. It begins to exit on Thursday. But one thing I really want to stress here, Thursday at noon, notice the winds. We are onshore here in Flagler and Volusia County. We could have a storm surge event here, maybe 3 to 5 feet, in addition to the threat for some howling winds right off the Atlantic, maybe wind gusts at times over 80 to 85 miles per hour. So kind of keep that in mind. So the timeline here, full hurricane preps need to continue. Today's going to be the last day to get everything done. As we head into tomorrow, winds and rain will be increasing. That's why it's so important to get basically all your hurricane preps completed today out there. And then the worst weather is going to be overnight Wednesday through the early morning hours on Thursday, and we're probably going to be dealing with some beach surge. A lot more to get to here. I'm going to talk more about the storm surge threat and also when the system finally exits and what things will look like for the weekend. That's coming up in a little bit. Kristen and Alexa.
David, thank you. Florida Highway Patrol is now making sure evacuees can safely leave Milton's path.
And in this picture, you can see state troopers assisting with fuel truck escorts to make sure no one gets stranded on their way to safety. FHP is urging everyone to finalize their hurricane preparations today.
Hurricane Milton is expected to create devastating storm surge on Florida's west coast.
And during an interview with CNN, the mayor of Tampa, Jane Castor, is not kidding around when it comes to people avoiding evacuation orders.
Well, I can tell you right now that they may have done that in others. There's never been one like this. And this, Helene was a wake-up call. This is literally catastrophic. And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
Cut and dry, no other way to really put that. Everyone in the Tampa Bay, Suncoast area, understandably so, taking this seriously, and those leaders have not been holding back with those warnings.
They haven't. We even heard Rick Scott yesterday say, listen, the onus is on you to make sure that you're safe. You're getting all the information about what's happening in your particular area, your zone. And if you're in an evacuation zone, you need to leave, because the reality is not only are we going to be dealing with storm surge between 8 and 12 feet there in the Tampa area, but also they're still recovering the Gulf Coast from Helene, which also did serious damage. So it's a lot of water that's there and more water that's on the way. The reality is if you're in an evacuation zone, you need to leave.
Yeah, the statements there sound pretty crass, but they're critical this morning. Well, here at home, Orlando International Airport is starting to shut down ahead of Hurricane Milton.
Now, flights are still going on, but they'll stop tomorrow morning at 8. So we saw crews starting to down the gates yesterday. Customers should check with airlines, though, about their particular flight and any cancellations. Workers will ride out the storm tomorrow night so they can assess the damage first thing Thursday morning. Airport operations will resume once it's safe to do so. Passengers should not, though, ride out the storm at the airport.
This airport will still not be closed, but it is not a shelter either, right? We are here to keep it open should there be emergency response or any of those response needs that would occur during the event.
Of course, we'll be seeing impacts along our coast, and county leaders, they say they're in full prep mode.
Channel 9's Melanie Holt gives us an update on where things stand right now in Brevard County.
Brevard County officials are really urging residents to prepare now. They're expecting some significant impacts from Hurricane Milton, and that includes several inches of rain, maybe up to 10 inches in some areas between this past Sunday and this coming Thursday. Rough surf, of course, and possible beach erosion. We saw some beach erosion during Hurricane Helene, but depending on how this particular hurricane comes along over Brevard County, we could see more significant impacts there too. I can tell you the county has several sandbag locations that will be open tomorrow. A number of municipalities also have sandbag operations, including the city of Cocoa, which really just has a sand pile out there. It's bring your own bag, but we saw quite a few people out there today just preparing as best they could. Obviously, a number of folks getting gasoline for those generators, their cars, of course, and just folks doing what they can at this point to prepare. There are also a number of closures that are already happening here in Brevard County. Brevard Public Schools has an early day scheduled for Tuesday. Early dismissal. The kids will be going home early so families can prepare for this storm, but there will be no school on Wednesday and Thursday. Operations are kind of being drawn back at Port Canaveral as well. They tell me that they had regular operations today. We saw cruise ships leaving earlier today. All those home ported ships are gone now. They normally return on Friday. We'll see what happens with this storm, of course. And by Wednesday about midnight, they're expecting that the port will be closed to traffic altogether. We got an email from Melbourne Orlando International Airport. They're planning to close that airport at 2 p.m. on Wednesday and hope to reopen Friday morning. And Florida Tech is canceling classes Tuesday through Friday. So really something that we all need to keep up on, because that may change as we know more about the path of the storm. I mean, we already know that all of Central Florida can expect some sort of impacts there, but there are likely to be more closures and cancellations ahead. Reporting from Brevard County, Melanie Holtz, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
So many efforts to make sure that everyone's safe. I'm just reading here the Florida Division of Emergency Management saying they're partnering with Uber to make sure people have free rides to and from shelters in counties that have to evacuate from Milton. So just use the code in the app. If you're in an evacuation zone, it'll come up right on the Uber app to make sure that you have a way to get to a shelter and be safe if you have to evacuate.
And just a few moments ago, we gave you an update on Orlando International Airport stopping those commercial flights Wednesday morning. We'll have Orlando executive shutting down their operations at 8 p.m. tonight.
All right. Well, we've been reaching out as well to our local hospitals to learn how they're preparing to keep patients safe during Hurricane Milton.
Advent Health told us it's deploying extensive safety precautions and that they've stockpiled thousands of gallons of water. Generators are already standing by for emergency power, and sandbags are prepared right now to secure those doors and windows. They tell us all hospitals and freestanding ERs are open for community health needs.
Meantime, Orlando Health is reminding its staff to review their hurricane management plan that places rush orders for additional supplies for each facility. It also creates a staffing plan for each site to continue to deliver care. Those sites also have at least 3 to 7 days of food inventory, making sure there's enough food for patients, staff, and visitors. Now, Orlando Health is also working with its engineering departments to secure buildings.
Many evacuees from our Gulf Coast are now coming here into Central Florida.
And traffic has been a problem. And actually, our co-workers, Greg and Martha, spoke with a teacher last night who was evacuating from Manatee County, and she was on the road for hours. Take a listen in.
Many folks have left that Tampa Bay area. We've seen since daybreak to nightfall, we've seen the thousands of people who are escaping this catastrophic storm surge. We have Peyton Levy on the phone with us. She is an orchestra teacher from Manatee County. And Peyton, thanks for joining us. I know you've had a really long ride to get here to New Smyrna Beach in Central Florida, but you are in a first floor apartment and about 8 feet above sea level. Tell me why you decided to pack up. I mean, clearly you took this warning seriously to get out of town.
Well, typically I'll just wait to see till the last day before the storm before I actually leave. That's what I've done historically, at least. But just something about this storm just felt a little bit more serious. They canceled school for us Monday, and once they canceled school and opened up the shelters, then you always take things a little bit more seriously.
So you packed up your cats, I know that, and you also packed up your musical instruments. I know you were concerned about what might happen when you were gone. Tell me a little bit about the drive for you. Normally it takes from Bradenton to Orlando, about a three plus hour ride, but how long did it take you to get here to Central Florida?
I was really shocked. It really actually took me about 6.5 hours, closer to 7 hours to drive just across the state.
So, Peyton, this is Greg. Thanks for being with us, and I'm glad you've made your destination, or at least are very close. When you've been in traffic before, has it ever been anything like this, where it was that slow for anything prolonged, or does this just feel different in terms of how many people on the roads, and are people being polite on the roads? Are they letting people, merge? What's it like on the roads in terms of as a driver?
It was pretty intense because it wasn't just like certain sections of the highway that were bumper to bumper. It was bumper to bumper the entire drive, like all 6.5 hours. There was somebody right in front of me, right behind me. You'd even see people walking their dogs on the side of I-4 because people weren't expecting to be on the highway for that long.
Peyton, what about pit stops? Did you get off and make any of those, get gas or, stretch your legs, or was this just grinding all the way?
We made one stop because we had to eat something, but if we wanted to stop for gas, there was a line at every single one, and that's if they even had gas.
And you mentioned, Peyton, you felt that this storm was different. I know you're, you've lived in Florida for quite a long time. How does this feel different for you?
Well, I don't think there's been a greater sense of, I guess, anxiety with the people around us in that area. After Helene just hit, there's a sense of urgency, like, oh, that could be us next.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're so glad that you're here. I know it took you a bit to get here, but we know you've made it to New Smyrna Beach, where you're going to hunker down and you're safe there. But we're so glad that you got out of town, and hopefully when you go back to your home, everything is standing and everything is okay. Because we know that there could be a catastrophic damage in that particular area. But Peyton, thanks so much. We're glad you're here and you're safe.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
We take you now to a live look at that drive. This is I-75 northbound right by the turnpike. We have bumper-to-bumper traffic, and it's something that we have been tracking since about 7:30 yesterday morning, and we will finally see the last day of preparations ahead of Hurricane Milton today. So if you think this is bad, Kirsten, we anticipate it only to get worse as we get some sunlight.
Yep, and people are getting to take this storm even more seriously. Again, today being the last day for prep, because tomorrow you need to be in your place for safety. It's currently 1:45 on this Tuesday morning. We'll be right back with continuous coverage here on Channel 9 tracking Hurricane Milton.
Welcome back. It is 1:50 as we continue to track the preparations ahead of Hurricane Milton. Thanks for being with us. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. It's certainly an effort. We're going to be here with you all night long. And take a look at this video.
It's from FHP in Tampa. It's a sped up dash cam video, but on the left side of the screen, you're seeing that time lapse. It's from Monday night, and it shows the long line of people evacuating on I-4, leaving the west coast of Florida, moving inland and moving north. The Florida Highway Patrol is reminding everyone to heed all warnings from state, county, and local officials. Stay calm and drive safe. But that standstill is something we have been tracking since about 7:30 yesterday morning, and we will continue to see more of it today. The state has already said this is the largest evacuation for Hurricane Kirsten since Hurricane Irma in 2017.
Yeah, I covered that hurricane. It was massive. It was a problem. It caused so much damage here. That storm, Matthew, it's just been incredible. So I think people have those memories of what a potential major hurricane can do to our area and are heeding those warnings. Now, all of us across Central Florida here are preparing for this major storm.
Daytona Beach residents are doing the same. Channel 9's Sam Martello is live in Daytona Beach. And Sam, how's it look over there?
Yeah, well, we're along Beach Street here in Daytona Beach, and a lot of businesses on this roadway are preparing for Hurricane Milton, and that's because they've dealt with Hurricanes Ian and Nicole 2 years ago when the Halifax River rose over, dumped into this road, and really impacted a lot of these businesses. Now, this is one of the most significant ones we've seen here this morning, who is completely boarded up. And I do want to touch on sandbags. You can see they've got their whole door blocked off with sandbags. Sandbags for Volusia County residents are going to be available today. It's going to be self-service sandbag locations at some assigned fire stations throughout the county. Now, there's about 4 or 5 locations that we're going to have. We'll show you throughout the morning where those are. We'll have them up on our website. There's a couple of self-service sandbag locations from 8 o'clock this morning till 5 o'clock this evening. So if you are worried about some flooding in your area, you can go ahead and get 10 free sandbags today at those assigned fire station locations throughout the county. Now, something else, you can see the roadways are super quiet here this morning. That is what Volusia County is wanting to see tomorrow night going in to Thursday morning. They want these roadways to be clear so first responders can get to people who need help. So there is going to be a curfew in place for Volusia County. They're expecting that to start Wednesday night and going into Thursday morning. So again, they're wanting these roadways to be clear. There is going to be possibilities, if you don't listen to that, a fine or even imprisonment. So you're wanting to just be in place, like we have been saying, starting tomorrow morning. So follow that direction there. Don't be out on the roadways driving around tomorrow night into Thursday morning because it's just not going to be safe conditions. We have a lot to cover here in Volusia County, so when I check back in with you guys, I'm going to be talking about some evacuation orders that are going to be in place here in Daytona Beach, as well as some shelters that are going to be open as well. But for now, live in Daytona Beach, Sam Martello, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Sam, thank you. In Central Florida, we have our beaches and our theme parks, and many of those theme parks and resorts across our area have already announced closures as they anticipate Milton.
Yeah, Legoland has announced they're closing on Wednesday and Thursday, but as of right now, the Legoland Hotel will remain open at limited capacity. Meantime, on the Gulf Coast, Busch Gardens Tampa is closing starting tomorrow through Thursday. Officials there will be updating their status of reopening on their social media channels. And here at home, Gatorland has announced they're closing Wednesday and Thursday, and the same goes for the Central Florida Zoo and Botanical Gardens. Meantime, if you have an RV and you're looking for a place to evacuate, you may want to consider heading up to Atlanta.
Yeah, the Atlanta Motor Speedway is opening its campgrounds for Hurricane Milton evacuees. There's space available for RVs as well as pop-up campers and tents. People will be able to access a nearby shower house as well. There are also a limited number of camping spaces with water, power, and sewer hookups for a fee of $35 per night. And earlier, we showed you that list of the theme parks that have announced that they are closing early or closing completely. Of course, our two major ones missing from that list. We're still waiting.
We're still watching for what Disney, Universal say about when they're closing and when they'll be reopening. So, of course, the second that information comes into our newsroom, we'll have let you know. Meantime, you can call 211 for any help during Hurricane Milton.
Heart of Florida United Way is partnering with a hurricane helpline to connect you to important services. They can give you information on shelters, sandbags, food, and even offer emotional support. It's a free and confidential service available 24/7 all year long.
And while you can pick up your last hurricane supplies today's the last day for prep, One Blood is hoping you have just a few minutes to stop and donate some blood with them.
Yeah, the organization says there's an urgent need for blood donations. One Blood stresses that it's important to get blood to hospitals before landfall. Hurricanes can get in the way of blood collections for days. The organization says all blood types are needed, but especially O negative and O positive as well.
And as Hurricane Milton approaches, you may have concerns for things that you'll need waking up today. Of course, today being the last day of that full prep day.
Yeah, there are essential items you want in your hurricane kit. Here's Nick Papantonis in Orange County.
There are two things that we want to think about as we head into Tuesday. Two big concerns right now. Number one is gas availability. We saw a lot of stations running out as we got into those later hours on Monday. We can say there are plenty of stations out there right now, depending on where you are, that have gas. And the trucks tend to run at night. A lot of stations do tend to get resupplies. So as people start waking up in the Tuesday hours and thinking about, do we need to top off the tank? There are places, if you drive far enough, you're going to come across a gas station on a main road that currently has gas, and you're going to be able to find that. So there's no need to panic at this time. Just be a little bit patient. Again, we had shortages when it comes to water availability at grocery store shelves. We've been covering all night how there are ice stands on major roads throughout Central Florida that you're going to be able to get water at as well as ice to make sure that your freezer stays cold. You have that extra little layer of comfort there when it comes to power outages. The third thing that we're going to be seeing as we get further into Tuesday is evacuation starting here in Central Florida. We've already had plenty of evacuations along the coast. We've had 2 counties as of the midnight hour on Tuesday that have issued evacuation orders. Volusia with anything east of the Intracoastal, and then manufactured homes county-wide as well as campers and campsites. Marion County echoing that, where anything campers, campsites, low-lying areas, anything that would be considered problematic is going to be under evacuation order as well. Shelters are being set up throughout Central Florida to accommodate these people because, again, manufactured homes especially not rated for winds, definitely not rated for 100+ mile-an-hour wind gusts as the forecasts are holding at this time. And so we're going to be starting to see more counties potentially issuing those orders, more individual communities telling their residents to think about what they're going to be doing, especially those 55-plus communities that might have more trouble in a multi-day power outage. So things to look forward to as we enter this final day of preparing, and definitely some safety concerns that should be addressed as we start seeing press conferences happening with our local jurisdictions here in Central Florida as the morning and the afternoon keep going. In Central Florida, the Packing District, Nick Papantonis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Within the last few moments, Hurricane Milton is now a Category 4 hurricane, still a major storm. We'll have the latest with our meteorologist in Severe Weather Center 9 after this break, but we want to leave you with the traffic continuing to build on I-75 northbound this morning right near the turnpike as people try to leave the west coast of Florida looking for safety from this storm. Tolls suspended this morning. We'll be right back.
Stay with Channel 9 Eyewitness News as we track Milton.
Welcome back. It is 2 o'clock on your Tuesday morning as all of us here at Channel 9 continue to track Hurricane Milton. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. That storm just recently in the last few minutes downgraded to a Category 4 hurricane. Now, I want to bring in certified meteorologist David Hecker. This is something we've been discussing for quite some time. At 11:55 yesterday morning, it was upgraded to a Category 5. Of course, that is a terrifying situation. It is catastrophic. It is deadly. However, the conversation I had with Cassie at that point was it is terrifying and people should heed warnings and evacuate if they're in evacuation zones. However, we knew this thing was going to downgrade and not necessarily be a Category 5 when it impacts us here Wednesday night into Thursday morning.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. This is not going to be Category 5 by the time it gets to Florida. I don't have a single computer model indicating that. All that being said, it's still going to be a major hurricane. We still got a big impact, it looks like, in the state of Florida as we head into the next 72 hours. Let's talk about that update here at 2 a.m. Winds now 155. That knocks it down to a Category 4 hurricane. And oftentimes with Category 5s, because they are literally spinning so fast and there's so much wind involved, they have a difficult time holding that wind together. It's almost like hitting the turbocharge button on a vehicle, if you will. It just is a hard time to keep that Category 5 status. But what's going on right now kind of under the hood is what's called an eyewall replacement cycle. So this is not necessarily the full downgrade or downstep as we work our way towards Florida. In fact, there's a decent chance this could power back up here later on this morning. So don't be shocked if you check back in later on and we got a 5 back on the board. But again, now down to a Category 4. Now the forecast cone is still showing 5. It's probably going to be borderline 4, borderline 5 would be my educated guess here over the next couple of days. But again, that part doesn't really matter. It's still going to be a major hurricane through Wednesday morning. Then the dry air and the cold front up towards the north, that really begins to impact the system. So we get towards Wednesday evening here, 8 o'clock, we still have a Category 3 major hurricane. And I want to stress that's a very, very significant hurricane. And I think the threat for a very, very significant impact along the west coast of Florida, somewhere from the Nature Coast, Tampa Bay through the Sun Coast, this is really beginning to increase now over in that very late Wednesday evening, overnight Wednesday time period. The core of the system will float right across Central Florida. Still a Category 1 hurricane here over land near I-95 Thursday morning, and then works its way onto the Atlantic heading into Thursday evening. I want to talk about storm surge out there. We got a storm surge warning now in effect for the west coast. These are some very significant numbers. 4 to 7 feet in the Naples area, 6 to 10 feet potentially in the Fort Myers area, an area that just got hammered by Ian with storm surge. And keep in mind, this is well away from the system, and that's a growing concern here as the west coast could be dealing with significant surge well away from where landfall is. Right now, the Hurricane Center is forecasting 10 to 15 feet maximum storm surge in the Tampa Bay area. That would be a potential record, which was set actually 2 weeks ago with Helene. We could be talking about a significant step up from Helene storm surge, but again, that's dependent on the exact track of the system. Over on our side of the coast, the East Coast, we got a storm surge watch now for Brevard County, 2 to 4 feet of surge possible. That's still a significant surge. Volusia County 2 to 4 feet, heading into Flagler County 3 to 5 feet. And those numbers may go up a little bit because we have significant onshore flow that is likely heading into the daytime hours on Thursday. So if you're waking up this morning, you live in Volusia, you live in Flagler County, don't sleep on this storm here. This could be a significant impact for you as well. One thing that's also going to be a significant impact is a threat for power outages, because we're going to be dealing with hurricane force winds for the majority of the area. Hence why we have a hurricane watch going on. This whole area in gold, that's a pretty good bet for at least widespread power outages, it looks like. Now, not everyone's going to lose power, but everyone tonight needs to be under the impression they may lose power during this system. And then you get into this darker shade of red here, which includes the Nature Coast, parts of Polk County, and the Tampa Bay metro area. That's where we're going to be talking about widespread, extensive power outages. This corridor here, we could be talking about power outages for several days. So let's talk about the timeline of all this. Again, now, as we head through the rest of the daytime hours, at times we'll have periods of rain. I think it's going to be a little bit drier than it has been in the last couple of days. But this is a very important day, and I want to underline this right here. We really do need to finalize our hurricane preparations today, especially if you have outdoor things you need to do later on. Get them done today, because by the time we get towards Wednesday, things will go downhill quickly. We're going to start dealing with feeder bands, a very strong wind gust with those bands, and then landfall will likely end up being, again, late Wednesday night. The Wednesday night, early Thursday, it's going to be the worst of the weather. That's when you're going to need to be hunkered down. And then late Thursday, Milton moves offshore, but we still have a coastal surge threat for portions of our East Coast beaches. So again, this is going to be an impactful storm. If there's any good news here in the early morning hours, we're down to a Category 4, but don't be surprised if it does step back up to a Category 5, Kirsten and Alexa, as we head into the next, say, 24 hours or so.
And we know you all will track every development as Hurricane Milton, of course, gets closer to Florida. David, thank you.
And right now, utility companies are working to get resources in place before Milton arrives.
But that's been a bit complicated because so many resources are still helping with utility restoration in the Carolinas because of the destruction from Hurricane Helene. OUC sent 17 linemen there to help. The utility started working this weekend to get resources from 10 other states, and the goal now is to have at least half those crews in place before Wednesday. But it's going to be tight because some are coming from farther away than they normally would.
There are so many people that are trying to help the devastated Carolinas that we have crews coming from as far away as Michigan and Nebraska, Mississippi, Arkansas, Kansas, up along the Northeast, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. So there's about 10 different states where mutual aid will come from, as well as the city of Tallahassee.
And this is also an important note. About 60% of OUC's system, meaning those power lines, are underground, and that typically fares better during these storms. So again, 60% underground, but 40% still pretty big impact there. So we will watch and wait.
Meantime, Lake County has been reaching out to people with special needs ahead of the storm.
They want to see what their plans are for Milton and whether they need resources or help getting to a shelter there.
Yeah, so the county's Emergency Operations Center plans to fully staff all departments for inbound calls so people can get the help they need. And as those workers prepare for the hurricane, so are families in Lake County. We caught up with people at sandbag sites at the Hickory Point Recreation Complex yesterday.
There's just a little bit of flood, just a little bit of tropical rain. We can get water into our garage. So now with this storm, I'm kind of concerned a little bit about, losing some of our values.
Lake County's sandbag sites are open from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. People can only grab, though, 10 bags per household. Just remember to bring your own shovel.
And we are staying in Lake County because we do have those shelters. It's 15 shelters in Lake County that will open in about 10 hours at noon today. So it's 15 shelters. They have a handful of general population shelters, pet-friendly shelters, and as we mentioned, special needs shelters. A lot of them are, of course, in some of the schools. So that's why Lake County doesn't have school today, because they are opening up those shelters at noon. We'll have this full list updated for you shortly on WFTV.com.
And also, if you are someone with special needs or you know someone who has special needs, you want to make sure that they're registered with the Special Needs Emergency Shelter Program. That'll actually ensure their registered individuals are notified about evacuation, about special needs shelters, have help with transporting them to the shelter, and any particular medical medical needs you may have, especially since those shelters do have medical personnel on hand. So there are means and efforts out there and resources for you. You just have to make sure you're registered. Again, that is the Special Needs Emergency Shelter Program. Give that a Google and see how you can register, because the reality is that if you have those special needs, there are resources to help you.
Yeah, and Osceola County and Orange County also opening their shelters later on around 5 and 6 this evening. So again, we'll have all that information for you shortly on WFTV.com. Hurricane Milton right now is putting a stop to Central Florida's high-speed rail service.
And Brightline now has plans to suspend trains tomorrow and Thursday. This will affect those trying to travel between West Palm Beach and Orlando. Operations resume for their South Florida stations. Brightline says before resuming service to Central Florida, they'll do an assessment of the tracks themselves, make sure it's safe, and once the storm passes, we'll get things up and running once again. Now, if you're sure or unsure if your train is affected, you can go check your status on GoBrightline.com.
Sticking with traffic right now, you can see right here a live look at I-75. This is moving northbound right by the turnpike. It has been bumper to bumper all day long yesterday and now into the early morning hours. You can see people using the shoulder, that left-hand shoulder, and we knew this was going to happen if those highway speeds dipped below 40 miles per hour. The governor told us the shoulder would be open, so it's helping people, Kirsten, from the West Coast evacuate either inland or north to avoid some of that catastrophic storm surge that's expected for them.
And it's frustrating, but those on the roads now just got to pack their patience, because it's safer on the road getting away from that storm than staying in place. We'll have more on the continuing coverage here of Hurricane Milton at 2:11 on this Tuesday morning after the break.
Welcome back. It is coming up on 2:15 on this Tuesday morning. It is our final day of preparation for Hurricane Milton. Thanks for trusting us through this. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. Let's get over to certified meteorologist Brian Shields with the latest on Hurricane Milton. Now been downgraded a few minutes ago, about 10-15 minutes ago, to a Category 4. We knew that was going to happen, but because the water's so warm leading up to its arrival, it doesn't mean that it won't be upgraded again to a 5.
Yeah, they fluctuate. So we're going to continue to see fluctuations, 3, 4, 5 over the next 24 hours with this. Good morning, or maybe good night if you're about to sneak in. Winds at 155 miles per hour. And you can see the track should be a Category 4 or 5 as we go over the next day or so, as we go throughout the day. This is 8 p.m. So as we get into this evening, 8 p.m., about a Category 5, give or take 10-15 miles per hour. And then as we work our way into Wednesday evening, so this would be Wednesday by 8 o'clock, winds right around 125. We have not seen big changes other than the huge flare up in the intensity over the last 2 days. Intensity is trickier to forecast. As far as the track forecast has gone, that's all been right on track. And then bringing this in right near Anna Maria Island, potential landfall, again, could be a little more north, could be a little bit more to the south. Of course, that's a big difference on the surge where it comes on shore and south. That's where there's going to be an enormous surge. To the north, the water will be kind of that flow coming off the coast offshore. And then this works right across I-4, right across Central Florida as a true Category 1 hurricane, most likely at that point. So we're going to have those hurricane conditions here. We have those hurricane warnings up for almost all of us. And we'll see those warnings as soon as probably just a couple hours along our coast. The watches that are left over will switch over to hurricane warnings. And this gives you an idea where you see the reds and deeper reds. This is the bullseye. This is right where this is going to be going across. So that's for us here in Central Florida. They'll still have some tropical storm conditions back toward parts of South Florida and then back toward parts of Georgia, extreme eastern Georgia in North Florida. But this will be the core moving right through, and you can see it highlighted by the watches and warnings that are out there. And you see this, the eye wall is, the eye itself is replacing itself. These storms kind of breathe in a way when very powerful systems max out the energy around the eye. A secondary eye wall around it kind of forms, and just the inner eye wall collapses, and we get that new eye wall. And as it does, you get some weakening, and then it will re-strengthen again. We'll get another eye wall replacement cycle most likely after that. sometime later today, and those could last anywhere from 2 to 3 hours or 12 to 18 hours. And this will work its way just skimming the coast. Heaviest weather, though, is the real core of the hurricane winds, fortunately, just to the north of the Yucatan Peninsula here, but they are getting some true tropical storm conditions moving in. Some hurricane gusts, too. Now, our friends in Cuba, if you have friends, family there, this is all going to stay well to the north of Cuba. And then you can see it here just based on the size of this, how this is just going to impact the entire peninsula. Of course, toward the middle of this where we're going to be, that's where we're getting the hurricane conditions moving in. Width of this right now as a whole over 400 miles, but it's actually going to expand as this lifts up to the north, kind of gets tied into a front. We're going to see that wind field expand some, where this could be about 500, 600, 700 miles wide. Not all the strong winds will be that wide, but just the overall cloud shield of this will really be expanding. Of course, power outages, prepare to lose power in Central Florida. We have a very high risk of that. Of course, power is simply going to be going out for shore. Where this comes on shore, we're going to lose power in Sumter, much of Lake, over toward Polk. And then for the rest of us, we have that high likelihood of those power outages, and that's why we need those hurricane kits. But you can see the path of this. The center would take it right over Anna Maria Island, up through Tampa Bay, and then and again, this is a huge system. I'm just talking about the center here, then right over Celebration, Kissimmee, right over toward Hunters Creek, Orlando, Winter Park, and then kind of swinging its way over toward Titusville. That's where the center of this would go. So yeah, it may shift a little more to the north, may shift a little bit more to the south over the next 24 hours, but that's not going to take away the hurricane conditions for us here in Central Florida at this point. Everything continues to kind of gel and just aim into our direction. So hurricane winds are likely, and that means the loss of power, down branches. We're going to have down trees around, widespread down trees, a lot of down tree branches for sure. Watching some of that flooding that will be Ian-like. So again, a lot of folks have been getting those sandbags. Not like we're New Orleans. We don't have a levee system. We shouldn't be cutting through attics and that sort of thing. But we are going to see neighborhoods that will be taking on some water, maybe a foot or two in some spots, most likely a bit less than that. But that's a problem anytime you get water in your home, of course. That is a huge issue. Have all of the preps done by later today. So have them done by Tuesday p.m., depending on what day you are in your mind right now. If you're going to sleep or if you're waking up, have those preps done as we get into later today. Now, as far as the winds, these would be the sustained winds, just kind of a first feel at this. This here is by Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Sustained winds 30, 40 starting to crank up, and then gust would be even higher. But after midday on Wednesday, that's when some of the strongest stuff moves in, where you could see some of these sustained winds right around 50 miles per hour. And I think this is underdone. So this is just a computer model, and the computer models have been so behind in the intensity, right? So as you can see here, this would be the center moving in, and you see this would be by 11 p.m. on Wednesday. So this would be tomorrow night. You can see some of the winds around 80 miles per hour in Claremont, 93 in Four Corners, gust higher. We'll have some of the gusts near 100 miles per hour. This would be the center of it coming through. We'll have winds around 50 over toward Gainesville, 60 in Ocala just at this time, and then the center works through, and then you see the winds as we work our way back into Orlando, 50, 60 mile per hour winds. A little drop off here if you get stuck in the eye of this, the very eye part, while the eye will collapse on top of us. In that, we're going to get a drop in the winds, but around that eye wall, those strong winds, 60, 70 miles per hour. The gusts, though, add on about 10, maybe 20 miles per hour with this. So this is Thursday morning, and then this would work offshore. But look at the winds still on Thursday morning, 70 miles per hour on Palm Coast with some of those higher gusts, 75 in Daytona Beach, higher gust. So we could see some of the gusts along our coast Thursday morning, right around 80 to about 85 miles per hour. So we're looking at a two-day event here, starting really later on our Wednesday in through Wednesday night, and then working our way into our Thursday. And that's when we could even have more flooding at the coast with that onshore breeze that will move in. So as we take you over the next few hours, as we work our way into today, the rain chance not as high as yesterday. But with that said, still some scattered areas of rain. And pretty soon, as we get deeper into the day, we'll start to get in the overall flow of this and just get some of those spotty showers later today and again through this evening. Coming up, I want to go county by county with you and get into future track. I was just updating that tropical future track as we take you through this system. I'll see you in just a few. Alexa.
Brian, thank you. Walt Disney World says it's monitoring the path of Hurricane Milton closely.
The resort says it expects to operate under normal conditions today. It does say it's making adjustments, though, based on the forecast in the days ahead. Some areas are temporarily closing.
Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground and the Treehouse Villas at Saratoga Springs Resort will temporarily close at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning and will likely remain closed until Sunday, October 13th.
Meantime, the Copper Creek Cabins at Wilderness Lodge will also close at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning and will likely reopen on Friday, October 11th. Universal Orlando says it's currently operating under its normal hours and operations while also monitors the storm.
So if you have plans to visit the resort and maybe you live in the area where a state of emergency has been declared, you can call Universal to reschedule or cancel your accommodations without paying any added fees. The number to call is 800-711-0080.
We are expecting, of course, direct impacts from Hurricane Milton, even in Orange County, even that far inland.
Yeah.
County leaders addressed the public Monday afternoon ahead of the storm to discuss preparations that are being made.
This is going to be a public works phenomenon for us because of the heavy rainfall, the significant tropical force winds that we will experience. There's no question we are going to have power outages, and they will be significant.
Orange County residents should know that trips on Lynx buses will be free tomorrow to help reach shelters. Orange County schools will be closed Wednesday and Thursday. Temporary pumps have been deployed in Horizon West and in Orla Vista already to prevent flooding. 11 general shelter populations open at 6 p.m. And I want to take a moment just to make sure we have the most accurate information, because that's saying tomorrow, Kirsten. But I think now that we're in the overnight hours, we kind of have to upgrade all of that. I want to say that those shelters actually open today, Tuesday, at 6 p.m. So that means that Lynx is free today to get to those shelters. So just bear with us as we're updating all of our graphics. These overnight hours, of course, get a little tricky sometimes. Those shelters, again, in Orange County, open today. Lake County, we were talking, those shelters open today. Polk County as well.
Yeah, I believe Polk and Marion at noon today. It's interesting. You heard Brian when he just came in say good morning, good night, and I'm not really sure what time it is. You know, it is early morning in these overnight hours, though. So bear with us. We'll get you the information as soon as it comes into our newsroom.
For a full list of those shelters, we're updating them right now for WFTV.com. Local governments in Central Florida are preparing for direct impacts from Hurricane Milton. Earlier, we joined the Seminole County Emergency Operations Center there to see how they were preparing ahead of the storm.
This is a serious situation. We need to pay attention. It's often that we don't, as many of us being natural Floridians, we take these things for granted that it's going to be an easy, simple pass. That may not be the case with this storm.
Seminole County residents should know that the county is already staging assets to help in the recovery process. They're staging fuel to come into the area immediately after the storm. Public Works crews are clearing drainage systems ahead of the storm to prevent flooding. Additionally, all Seminole County schools and non-essential offices will be closed both Wednesday and Thursday.
2:25 on this Tuesday morning, taking a live look here at I-75 northbound at mile marker 330. Of course, it's busy right now as folks are leaving the Gulf Coast, evacuating and heading for safer ground through Central Florida up into North Florida ahead of the impacts of Hurricane Milton. We'll have more after the break.
Can we update?
Alrighty, approaching 2:30 on this Tuesday morning. We're live with you in the overnight hours here for continuous coverage of Hurricane Milton. Thank you for joining us and trusting us with this. I'm Kirsten Delgado.
And I'm Alexa Lorenzo. All of our team members in Severe Weather Center 9 have been working long hours tracking this for us. Hurricane Milton, now a Category 4 storm as it inches closer to Florida. Certified meteorologist Brian Shields in with us this morning. And Brian, this is our final day of prep.
Yeah, no
no big changes with this, which means we need to keep going with those full throttle hurricane preparations. Sometimes we do general preps. We double check the hurricane kit. We know we're going to get a system nearby. This one is different. This one is headed to us here in Central Florida. So we're going to have hurricane conditions right here. It's going to be right on top of us. Now, it won't be looking quite like this, which is a monster Category 4 hurricane at this point. Could be a Category 5 again very shortly. These big things kind of breathe. They do fluctuate. But this is headed our way. And right now, it's about 475 miles away from the west coast of Florida, taking aim anywhere from Tampa or just south as we get back through Sarasota. Looks to come on shore very close to Anna Maria Island. So you see here the forecast path, Category 4 or 5 as we head through the day today into tonight. Winds at about 160 by Wednesday evening. So tomorrow evening, 8 o'clock, wind should be around 125, a Category 3 hurricane. As the winds go down a little bit, that's good, of course. It's still going to be a Cat 3, but the wind field is going to expand, which is not good. Kind of like an Irma, where none of our counties, I don't want to use the double negative, all of our counties are going to get a big chunk of this. It's going to have a huge wind field, so all of us are going to get either very strong tropical storm conditions or the true hurricane conditions that will move in. By Thursday morning, this will be just pulling off our coast, but still as a hurricane. It'll be sitting over, say, Brevard County and Volusia, the center of it, as a hurricane Thursday morning. So we got a couple days to be dealing with this. Tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, won't be as bad, but that's where you kind of need to get in place, be where you need to be for the storm, and then we'll start to see those rain bands working in, and then the worst weather starting to move in after that. Now, Category 5 hurricane, those are winds of 157 miles per hour or higher. And we're going to see that at times over the next 24 hours, where it'll fluctuate between a 4 and a 5. This should move on shore as a Category 3. 3, 4, and 5 are major hurricanes. A 3 winds 111 to 129. That's where it should move on shore. And then obviously as it works its way closer to, say, Polk County, Sumter County, Osceola, Orange, and Lake, there should be some weakening as it interacts, of course, with land. But on top of us, we're looking at a 1, maybe in some gust to the 2 category, but wind 74 to 95 miles per hour on top of us in some higher gusts. We're going to have some gust around 100 miles per hour. That is going to down trees, widespread power loss for us here. Getting a look at those computer models, not much has changed. They're all really, really locked in. This is by the time we get into Wednesday evening. Most of the models are taking this right near Tampa Bay. Should be just to the north of Fort Myers. Could be just to the south of Tampa Bay. If it is more to the south of Tampa Bay, that would be kind of pull out some of the water, which would be good as a whole, but we don't wish this on anyone. Where this comes on shore and to the south, there's going to be that significant surge of upwards of 12 feet in spots. We'll get into that more so. And then all of the computer models, you see, just drive this right across. Some of these computer models aren't that good. Other ones are the really big kind of strong ones, especially this batch right in through here. Some of these Hurricane Center one, there's the American model right in through here. These are some of the better computers that bring this right up through Tampa Bay and then right over Orlando, then up toward Volusia and Brevard. But all of us get the impacts. It's going to be huge from Flagler to Marion down through Osceola, of course. All of us will be dealing with the impacts of this. So as we get into Wednesday, the winds are going to start to pick up. The stronger rain bands will work in as we hit the afternoon. Then tomorrow night, that's when we get those hurricane conditions. The worst weather is going to hit. We'll have some of the winds gusting 90 to about 100 miles per hour as we get into Wednesday night. Then on Thursday, we're still going to have at least tropical storm conditions early on Thursday. Even some hurricane conditions possible early on Thursday along our coast. Some of the gusts Thursday morning, still 70 to 80 miles per hour. And by Thursday morning, even as the system starts to depart later on Thursday, the tree canopy is a lot weaker. We're going to have a lot of broken branches that didn't fall, that are stuck up in the trees, and still some gusty winds at times that aren't even that bad typically later in the day on Thursday can knock down those branches. So we got to watch out for some of the concerns after the hurricane on deeper into Thursday. So make those full preparations, secure all those outdoor items. Kirsten and Alexa and I were just talking about that. You guys put your husbands to work on that one. My lovely wife, she's handling that with the boys. Full hurricane kit, so be prepared to be without power. And don't forget about things like medicine. We're going to cover more of that for you so we can keep you covered on exactly what you need. And again, a lot of this stuff kind of sounds scary, but it's great to be able to prepare and see these things coming. Flood zones, there'll be a few areas where they may ask you to leave. Not widespread. We're not in this massive evacuation zone in Central Florida, but there may be a few spots that take on some extra water where some emergency officials may ask you to leave. So, you know, we're not in New Orleans or anything like that, below sea level with levees around, but we're going to monitor some of that flooding. So if you're in one of those kind of hot spots or flooding, have an extra bag on hand in case you're asked to leave and go to a shelter. Have those preparations done by later today. Now we get a look outside this morning. There's a lot of folks out there right now. I could not believe the cameras. We'll be showing you that in a second. I guess I can believe. I've seen this quite a few times, but the traffic out there is really enormous. Even at this hour, watching out for some of those spotty showers that we're seeing just kind of driving on shore. It's not going to be as wet as we go throughout the day, but scattered showers, 50 to 60% chance as we take you through the day ahead. Now, coming up, I want to go county by county with you. I want to show you how strong some of these winds will be, where the worst power outage potential is going to be. So we have plenty to cover. Plus, I want to get into the size of the storm. As it moves closer, it's really going to expand. We'll cover that in just a few. It's 2:36. Kirsten?
Yeah, Brian, I had a convo with my husband when I got home yesterday. I said, Brian said we got to bring in the patio furniture. And he gave me a little bit of a hard time, but it's going to get done.
Yeah. It's better safe than sorry once we see those winds pick up. Even the smallest things can turn into pretty dangerous projectiles. So same here. They will be taking care of that later today.
Last prep day. And all of us across Central Florida are preparing for this storm and taking it seriously.
Yeah, Daytona Beach residents are doing the same. Channel 9 Sam Martello joins us live in Daytona Beach. And Sam, when we chatted with you earlier, we saw some businesses boarded up behind you.
Yeah, Alexa, there's a lot to cover here in Volusia County this morning. Information I do want to get out to its residents. Here on Beach Street, a lot of the businesses are heeding the warnings of preparing their shops. A lot of them boarded up and have sandbags in place. But there is an evacuation order here in Volusia County, specifically east of the Intracoastal Waterway, which is right here. So anything east over this bridge, there's going to be an evacuation order in place starting at 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. That's 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, east of the Intracoastal Waterway. Manufactured and mobile homes, low-lying and flood-prone areas, and campsites and RV parks in Volusia County. Again, 8 o'clock Wednesday morning, all of those areas are going to be under a evacuation order. Okay, so now if you're needing to evacuate, there are some shelters in place throughout the county as well that you can go to if you don't have family, friends, or any area you can get to safely. There are some shelters. I'm going to read this off of my phone because I don't want to get any of this information incorrect. So the evacuation order starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. These shelters are going to be opening at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's a couple of schools you can go to: Creekside Middle, DeLand High, University High, Mainland High, and the Volusia County Fairgrounds. Those are going to be for the general population, and some of those are pet friendly. So, of course, if you're having to evacuate, don't leave your animals behind. Take them with you. So, again, those were for the general public. Now, if you do have special needs, like you are electricity dependent, you need oxygen, things along those lines, you are going to be able to go to Galaxy Middle and David C. Hinson Senior Middle School. So those are going to be for those people who have special needs, like, again, being electricity dependent. So evacuation order starts here in Volusia County at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and these emergency shelters for the general population and for those with special needs will open at 9 o'clock. And of course, we'll have this information listed over on our website, WFTV.com. For now, live in Daytona Beach, Sam Martello, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Sam, thank you. All Florida Department of Health offices in Orange County will be closed Wednesday and Thursday.
And offices will remain closed until further notice. There are additional resources for emergencies, though. The State Assistance Information Line is a toll-free hotline you can use for accurate and up-to-date information regarding any emergency. That number is on your screen, 1-800-342-3557 for medical needs and emergencies, though. Call 911. We actually just saw a tweet from the Orange County Sheriff's Office saying that all of their offices for the sheriff's office will also be closed Wednesday, and they're advising you to call 911 for medical emergencies as well. Now, as we make up preparations, those in Tampa Bay, of course, are getting ready to face a major hurricane head on.
Pinellas County is expected to have major flooding because of storm surge. They're one of Advent Health's hospitals there that is under an evacuation notice. Advent Health North Pinellas is moving 40 patients from the facility as they now expect water intrusion from the Gulf with this current track. Those patients are going to several Advent Health locations. They expect to have that hospital evacuated within 24 hours.
And of course, sandbag locations have been very busy across Central Florida yesterday, especially in Kissimmee in the Osceola County area.
Yeah, this is video from Drone 9. It flew over the site in Heritage Park, right here in Kissimmee. You can see just how crowded it was. People trying their best to move through quickly because a lot of people needing sandbags. We saw Osceola County hit hard with some flooding during Hurricane Ian, so people are doing everything they can to prepare. We have a full list of sandbag locations so you can figure out exactly where to go on WFTV.com. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is urging EV owners here in Florida to get vehicles to high ground.
Now, you'll remember this. He's making a reference during Hurricane Helene when a Tesla actually caught fire in a garage. And this is a look at what happened in this garage in Sarasota. You can see here how quickly that car caught flames. This was from Helene's storm surge. The lithium-ion batteries in electric vehicles can actually cause a reaction with that salt water once it's overwhelmed by it. Some tips to ensure this doesn't happen to you is leave your EV in an open air above ground location and do not charge it during the storm. In this case, this house completely burned down. Thankfully, though, all 9 people inside were able to get out. So this is easily avoidable. Make sure your car is just outside and not in a garage, and don't charge it during the storm.
A live look right now at I-75. This is near the turnpike. We are seeing thousands of drivers this morning move inland and move north from the West Coast. Our highways this morning are free. There is suspension of our tolls across West and Central Florida and Alligator Alley. So we are seeing a lot of people take this storm seriously and leave from the west coast of Florida. So that's our roads this morning here at home. Sunrail is no longer operational this morning. They are securing the corridor ahead of Hurricane Milton.
2:42 on this early Tuesday morning as we continue our coverage of tracking Hurricane Milton. We'll be back right after the break.
2:45 on this Tuesday morning as we continue to track Category 4 now, Hurricane Milton. Thanks for being with us. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. Let's get over to certified meteorologist Brian Shields. Now, Brian, this storm has been downgraded to a Category 4. We expected that to happen, but it may bump up to a Category 5 again.
Yes, it's going to fluctuate. Yeah. So we're going to see that. That is typical. So again, just fluctuations in this as we take a look at Milton right now. Winds at 155 miles per hour. They were around 180, 185 earlier. It's moving to the east at about 9 miles per hour. As we get into a Wednesday evening, it should be about a Category 3. So as the winds go down a little bit, that's good, but it's still going to be so powerful. Obviously, we're very clear on that. The wind field is actually going to expand. So all of our counties are getting this, and it's still right on track to move right up near Tampa Bay and Anna Maria Island. So all of this is headed to the entire peninsula will feel something. North Florida more in the way of tropical storm conditions. South Florida getting brushed by tropical storm conditions. Us here, though, in Central Florida, it is going to be different. We're getting a true hurricane that will be right on top of us. Sometimes we see things just east or just west. This one's going to be more like an Irma or an Ian or a Charlie, and then even maybe even stronger. That's kind of the outlook as it stands now. This could be one of our strongest we've had in recent memory in Central Florida. It's coming right on top of us, especially that angle it's taking, coming right into the Tampa Bay area, or at least close to it. So this is through the next couple hours. You see it just hugging the coast. Heaviest weather just to the north of the Yucatan, although it's getting scraped by there. Cuba, this will be to the north, and this is one of our computer models, does a very good job. Now, this is by tomorrow morning. At times tonight, tomorrow morning, we're going to start to get some of the rain bands working in, and that's why this is 8 tomorrow morning. That's why it's a very good idea to be where you need to be for this system by tomorrow morning. And then you see this moving in. Now in this, even where you don't see the rain, what's going to happen is you get these dry slots, but it's coming on top of us. So even if you get a dry slot, the winds are still going to be very strong. Winds are going to be stronger where the rain is and right around the core of this. This is by 6 p.m. tomorrow, getting very close to that landfall right near Sarasota, watching Anna Maria Island. And then this will lift right up near I-4. Here's the center of this thing by the time we get into 10 p.m. And that means by tomorrow night, tomorrow at 10 p.m., we're going to have those hurricane conditions very widespread in this. We're going to right around it have some of those gusts near 100 miles per hour, especially on the north side. That's where it's going to be a little bit worse at times. So hurricane conditions tomorrow night, right around 9, 10 o'clock. And then through the night, this is here. The center of this could be sitting right on top of Celebration near Hunters Creek back through Orlando Winter Park. In this, we'd be seeing some of those gusts 90 to near 100 miles per hour. We're going to be without power for most of us by tomorrow night. Lots of trees down. Kind of it gets scary at night when you got a hurricane. The sounds, the wind, the tree branches breaking. So it does get a little bit scary. No doubt about that. But we'll be here to take you through it. And then you see the system moving offshore, very close, right on our coast by the time we hit 6 in the morning on Thursday. With that, still tropical storm conditions on Thursday and even some hurricane gust early Thursday at our coast. And as this moves off, we get that strong onshore flow that's really going to back up the water. And we're going to see a little bit of a surge as well along our coast. I am concerned about our coastal flooding and a high risk of that beach erosion. So the winds as a whole, 65 to 85, sustained. That's a constant wind, gust 90 to 100 miles per hour. We've had that pre-hurricane rain, which has not been good. When it arrives, though, an additional 5 to 10 inches of rain will be possible. So tomorrow morning, be where you need to be for this hurricane, and then we'll see whatever it does, and we'll get through it with you. Now, as we go county by county, widespread power loss. Now, where the center kind of moves in and right around the eye wall, winds will be a little bit stronger where they could be gusting over 100. So it's going to really depend on does the track move a little bit more up here, a little bit more to the south. All of us are getting it. This is a massive system. All of us under those hurricane warnings, gust 80 miles per hour or higher. Some of the gusts near Orlando could be very close to 100 degrees as the track moves right on top. Gust around 85 miles per hour along our coast. That surge in Flagler about 3 to 5 feet. Volusia and Brevard, we're looking at a surge of about 2 to 4 feet. In 5 to 10 inches of some more rain. Now, as we get back to this morning, we've been watching out for some of those spotty showers that have been around, kind of hit or miss showers with us, taking you through the day, 50-60% chance of rain as you finalize those preparations. So preparations done by later today. We're in place by tomorrow morning. The worst weather will arrive late tomorrow night, and early on Thursday. We're getting a lot of new information in, fine-tuning the landfall point, how strong the winds are going to be specifically city by city. We're going to cover that together ahead. It is 2:50. Alexa.
A massive evacuation is underway right now from Florida's west coast.
Yeah, many people are headed towards Central Florida, and reporter Q McRae is at the Turkey Lake rest stop on the Florida Turnpike. Q, what's it look like there right now?
Well, things are they're usual. That's how the worker inside the store here described the busyness, if you will, of this this gas station here this morning at the Turkey Lake Plaza. There are some cars here right now. 4 of them just showed up. It looks like they're a part of the same racing team, but for the most part right now, things are quiet. About 10 minutes or so ago, there were a lot more cars here, but according again to the worker inside, this is about normal for about 3 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. But we do want to show you some video of where things are a lot busier. This is I-75 where it meets the turnpike. You'll see just how busy the road is over there as people head north trying to get out of the way of Hurricane Milton's path. Most of the people you're looking at right now in their vehicles are leaving the Sarasota area, the Tampa area, the St. Petersburg area, and the like, trying to get out of the way before the storm hits the area with its storm surge and strong winds. residents, back here at Turkey Lake Plaza. I've spoken to a number of the workers, of the drivers who are out here this morning, and many of them are just heading on to work or heading home. Did speak to a couple of people earlier who didn't want to be on camera. One was driving out of town from the Port St. Lucie area. She didn't want to be on camera, but she talked about her concerns for her home, about the wind. She lives in a manufactured home and didn't feel she'd be safe there, so she's heading north up to Atlanta to stay with some family. So we are meeting some people here who are getting out of Dodge, if you will, but for the most part, things here have been calm, but we are expecting things to pick up as the day moves on. So for now, that's the latest here live. I'm Q McCrae, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Absolutely, Q. Those highways will be slammed later on today, without a doubt. FDOT crews in Central Florida are working hard to keep the roads clear before, during, and after Hurricane Milton.
These are pictures of the teams. They're hard at work yesterday. FDOT says they've been checking roadways that are vulnerable to flooding, like A1A here in Central Florida. They've also been preparing heavy equipment and removing weakened trees, like monitoring the storms over time. FDOT says it's doing everything possible to reduce disruptions and danger so that we can all get back to normal as quickly as possible after that storm passes. Meantime, the Florida Department of Transportation is suspending Sunrail service starting today.
Sunrail is expected to stay closed through at least Thursday. Crews are securing the gates at 129 railroad crossings. They're also inspecting and storing the train fleet and securing railroad equipment. Once the storm passes, they need to do a full inspection to assess the hurricane's impacts. Crews will then reinstall those gates, remove any obstructions from the tracks, and conduct those ever-important safety inspections.
And Volusia County reporter Tammy Johnson was in a neighborhood where people are already concerned with flooding. Of course, we've had weeks and weeks of rain, and sometimes an afternoon storm has really caused issues for parts of Volusia County, like Edgewater.
Yeah, you'll remember those reports out of Edgewater just a few weeks back. That area was underwater. So what they're doing right now is taking advantage of the sand piles that the city has made available for them. Those sand piles will be open in Edgewater from 8 this morning to 6 in the evening tomorrow. There's also going to be more trucks in the area bringing dirt into where we will see some of those impacts. Everyone is doing what they can to attempt to stop any water from rushing into their homes.
And because of the danger of this storm, a curfew has actually been issued in Volusia County ahead of Milton.
The curfew will be in Volusia County Wednesday until 8 p.m. or Wednesday night rather at 8 p.m. and will last Thursday at 8 a.m.
During the height of the storm, we need folks off the street. You need to allow law enforcement, EMS, and fire to do their job.
So again, that curfew goes into effect Wednesday at 8 p.m. and is lifted Thursday at 8 a.m. And the reason that they do this is because of some of those impacts, like you said, on the roads. If we get sustained winds over 40 miles per hour, they need to shut down that bridge east of the Intracoastal. So that's why that area is a mandatory evacuation.
Right. And in that evacuation, it's so important that you do get out, because you were talking about mandatory sustained winds. 45 miles an hour plus is when first responders will not come out. They will not come out and get you. It's too unsafe for them to drive out. It's why the reason even here in the metro area, services like Lynx won't be available 35 miles an hour or more of sustained winds. It's all about the safety of those massive trucks trying to get through a city with that constant wind.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are monitoring all areas of Florida that are currently under potential impacts from Hurricane Milton. Here's a dark and early look in Tampa. This is courtesy of EarthCam. We'll have these live cameras for you showing you what we are seeing across the state of Florida in terms of impacts and preparations for Hurricane Milton. Again, today is your final day of prep for Hurricane Milton. Brian Shields has been stressing to bring in all of that outdoor equipment, outdoor furniture, put it into your homes today. It's better to be safe than sorry. And of course, folks, especially in Tampa, the Suncoast region, St. Pete, they are 100% doing that as they are in this direct path of the storm.
All right, well, it is approaching 3 a.m. on this Tuesday morning. We'll be joining you all through the night into the morning here in the early hours, rather overnight of the morning, as we continue to track Hurricane Milton here on Channel 9.
3 a.m. on this Tuesday as we all continue to track Hurricane Milton. Thank you for being with Channel 9 as we are in continuous coverage right now. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. Let's get over to certified meteorologist Brian Shields. Of course, as of about an hour ago, this storm has now been downgraded to Category 4. That was to be expected, though we might get an upgrade again to 5. It's going to fluctuate in the hours leading up to landfall on the west side of Florida.
Yeah, don't pay too much attention to slight downgrades or upgrades or anything like that. These kind of fluctuate. This is a powerful Category 4 hurricane, and you see the core of it right here, the eye kind of redoing itself, little eye wall replacement cycle, tropical storm conditions, even some hurricane gusts across the northern stretches of the Yucatan Peninsula, and this is about 475 miles away from the west coast of Florida now, so it's getting closer and closer, and later in the day, it's going to be sitting right about here as it takes aim at us. Now, it's a large system, obviously. This is a hurricane. It's actually going to expand further. If you were to take it now, just kind of expand it out, it's going to impact the entire peninsula. It's about 400 miles across. By the time it gets near us, it should be about 600 miles across. The wind field's going to expand. Now, the strongest winds are not 600 miles out. They're closer to the center, obviously, but the center itself and the core of this is going to be moving right over central Florida by the time we get into late tomorrow and tomorrow night and on early Thursday. So you see the track just kind of taking its way right through here. Category 4, Category 5 should be a little bit of weakening before landfall because of some wind shear to the north, just kind of trying to clip this. I'm hoping for some more weakening because this is not enough. These are winds of 125 by 8 o'clock tomorrow just off our coast, and then on top of us tomorrow night. By Thursday morning, this would still be along our coast, just off the coast of Brevard County as a hurricane. It moves across central Florida the entire time as a hurricane. We're all going to have these hurricane conditions moving in. We need to make those preps and finish them for today. Computer models all in very good agreement again. The largest cluster takes us right into Anna Maria Island. Almost everything is right on top of us. This guy's out to lunch over here. But you see, again, this just moves right near Tampa Bay, Anna Maria Island. This is a very tight cluster. Even if it were to be up here or down here, it still has to shoot across the peninsula. That's the flow. As this gets tied up into a front, it's going to move right across, so there's really no escaping this. So that's why we want to take those preparations, and we'll be safe as we do so, and we'll be safe through the storm. Just we need to do those preps ahead of time. Now, hurricane watches and warnings are out for all of us. The watches will turn into a warning shortly, but you see this red and deeper reds. That's kind of the bullseye of this. That gives you an idea of exactly where this hurricane is going to be moving across, where we have these hurricane watches still up along our coast. They should change to warnings with the next advisory. For tomorrow morning, it could see some on and off rain bands. It's really later in the day. The winds will start to pick up. Then tomorrow night, the hurricane conditions will be with us. The worst weather will be around overnight tomorrow night. Gust around 100 miles per hour. Then Thursday morning, it'll start to work its way offshore, but we're still going to have at least tropical storm conditions very early on Thursday. And that's when we're going to be watching out for the beach erosion, the very high seas, and the coastal flooding as we go through the entire day on Thursday, because we'll start to get the onshore flow at that point. So we need to secure or bring in all outdoor items, full hurricane kit, have that ready. If you're in one of those very particular flood zones, most of us do okay, but some of us do flood. You want to have a go bag in case they do ask you to go to a shelter. Emergency managers will be covering that throughout the day. Have your complete hurricane preparations done by later today. We get back to what's going on this morning. Some spotty showers. I know some folks are headed out. Alexa's been showing us the roads. I know a lot of crews are out there too, construction crews getting some sites ready and all sort of things, operations 24/7 at this point as we all get ready. As we go throughout the day, we'll be watching out for spotty showers and storms, 50 to 60% chance. Now coming up, the county by county and city by city winds that we can expect right here in Central Florida. We've got a hurricane headed our way. It is 3:05. Alexa?
If you haven't yet, now's the time to start preparing for Hurricane Milton.
Today's the final day to get those preps underway. Tomorrow should be in place. Florida's CFO, Jimmy Petronas, is listing off some of the important things, though, you need to keep in mind while you prepare today.
Petronas says to make sure your car or truck is topped off with fuel. Keep cash on hand in case some card systems are down for an extended period of time. Of course, build an emergency kit at home, making sure it's easily accessible from where you'll be hunkering down. And check on your family, friends, and neighbors to see if they need any help with their prep. You can find more ways to get ready for the storm by heading to WFTV.com.
And shows at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts have been affected by upcoming storms here, and it's unfortunate, but it's the safe thing to do.
Yeah, performances scheduled on Wednesday and Thursday have either been canceled or postponed. You can see the shows on your screen that are affected right now.
If you have any questions about shows that are canceled or postponed, you can call the number here on your screen. We'll get that for you in a moment. Advent Health School of Arts as well, classes for them have been suspended starting tomorrow through Thursday. We'll get those updates. Everything's so fluid, which is why we're continuing this coverage for you as these updates pop up minute by minute, really, of cancellations and plans. So it's something that will update you as soon as we get more details in terms of when those shows will be rescheduled.
In the meantime, power trucks are making their way across Central Florida to prepare for Hurricane Milton.
Channel 9's Alex Walker is in studio with more.
I was able to catch up with David Turk. He is the Deputy Secretary at the Department of Energy. He said it's all hands on deck from the federal government as they prepare for Hurricane Milton. He said they plan to exercise their muscle and have utility workers ready to go for when Milton Lake makes landfall. Here's video we captured. Power trucks rolling out across Central Florida. Utility companies in the region are pre-staging personnel, materials, and equipment to get ready for this storm. David Turk told me over 50,000 personnel from 41 states and Canada responded to power outages during Hurricane Helene. They're planning a massive response from Milton as well. He gave this message to the people of Central Florida as this storm approaches.
The main message for folks waiting for the second storm to hit is we're working on it, we're prepared, we're doing everything we can and taking all the lessons of the past so that we can be as helpful as we possibly can going forward. And I think what all of us need to do as Americans, as we do in the best spirit of these kinds of things, is let's all roll up our sleeves and help not only our immediate families, our immediate communities, but think about others who are even less fortunate than we are, even if our lives are upended.
Powerful message there. Turk said this will be a collective response, meaning utilities helping other utilities. They are recruiting as many people as possible to Florida to get power back as quickly as possible after Milton moves through. Remember, a lot of these linemen are coming from other states that were working for Hurricane Helene in the Carolinas and Georgia. And now once they're done there, they're coming down to Florida to help for Milton. Back to you.
And all Central Florida school districts have announced closures because of Hurricane Milton.
Osceola and Lake County schools canceled class from today through Thursday. Orange, Seminole, Brevard, Volusia, and Marion County schools plan to close Wednesday and Thursday. Sumter and Flagler County schools are closed Wednesday through Friday.
And a lot of the reason that schools are impacted, it's for dual purposes, right? One, you want to keep students and staff safe, but also a lot of those schools are used for shelters. For example, today in Orange County, by 10 a.m., 3 shelters will be open for special needs. By 6 p.m. today, they'll have 11 locations that are general population shelters, 6 of which will be for pets. So that is in Orange County specifically with their closures of the schools. A lot of them will be turned into shelters as early as 10 a.m. this morning for special needs, 3 shelters being already available to you.
Yeah, and in Lake County, those shelters open at noon today. Those students, all of them off of school today, getting those shelters, of course, ready. They needed the kids out.
And as this powerful storm approaches, folks are understandably concerned, but some flood-prone communities are especially on edge.
Channel 9's Jeff Deal spent the day in some of those flood-prone areas in Seminole County.
On the shores of Lake Jessup, the last time we had big trees go down, we couldn't get out of here with a vehicle. Don Kinch is bracing for the impact of Hurricane Milton. This flood-prone area of Oviedo was buried underwater in 2022 during Hurricane Ian. It was bad. Yeah. We have boats going up and down the road here, motorboats. Just 2 doors down, mold and mildew cover the walls. This home still waiting to be rebuilt as the homeowner waits to find out if a FEMA grant will come through. Folks along Lake Harney are bracing too.
We had Ian come through, which, was devastating to everybody.
Mike Thomas remembers what it was like. When we were here in 2022, we had to be driven in on a flatbed truck. Homes were surrounded by water, cars flooded out. Mailboxes just poking above the surface. Many people were using kayaks and canoes to get out.
We have to all stick together as a community and pull people out of the holes that they're in and connect their power for them and provide ice, provide water, food.
In his community, there are now stakes in the ground lining the road. As the water levels get high, this will help neighbors and emergency vehicles know where the road is. Last time they saw the county put them out was Hurricane Ian. They're hoping they won't see the devastation they saw then.
Pretty concerned. We just saw the sheriff coming through setting markers on the road, so they're planning on the roads going under.
Jeff Deal, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
If you need help evacuating from your home, Uber is offering free rides to shelters.
The company is working with the state to make sure that people are in a safe place before Milton makes landfall. So everybody can get this by downloading the Uber app. It's, of course, free in the Apple App Store and on Google Play. Tap the account icon on the bottom right of your screen and then wallet. Type in the promo code Milton Relief. It's all one word. You'll then get a free ride to a shelter of your choice. You can find a list of shelters on our website, WFTV.com. And while Lynx is running in Orange County, you can also use Lynx as a free service to get to shelters as well. It's a service they're providing while Lynx is available to do so. Again, those shelters in Orange County opening at 10 a.m. this morning for special needs, 6 p.m. this evening. General population shelters will be opening, 6 of which are for pets.
President Joe Biden has declared a state of emergency for Florida and ordered federal assistance now to our state.
The president's actions authorizes the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA to coordinate all disaster relief efforts and provide assistance for required emergency measures. Public assistance, including direct federal assistance, will be provided at 75% federal funding to 27 counties across South Florida, the Gulf Coast, and here in Central Florida. That includes Brevard, Flagler, Lake, Marion, Orange, Osceola, Polk, Seminole, Sumter, and Volusia County. 3:12 on this early morning as we continue our coverage here of Milton. We're going to be with you throughout the night into tomorrow morning.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's already morning. We're going to be with you.
3:15 on this Tuesday morning as all eyes are on Hurricane Milton. We are tracking every development. Thanks for being with us. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. That storm downgraded about an hour ago so to a Category 4. That was to be expected, though unfortunately may upgrade again as a Category 5. But these things are going to fluctuate, Brian, as we get closer to making landfall on the west coast of Florida. Something that I talked to Cassie about at 11:55 yesterday is when it was upgraded to a Category 5. And at that time, I wanted to make it clear that, of course, Category 5 is catastrophic. It is deadly. There's no question. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that a Category 5 is going to be over Central Florida Wednesday into Thursday night.
No, everything on track. Things will fluctuate. So again, I was mentioning that yesterday morning, how it could look very scary, and it will be a scary sight as we watch it, but it's going to evolve. It's going to change. The pattern will change as it gets a little bit closer to us. So let's get a look at the latest winds at 155 miles per hour now. It'll vary between a Category 4, Category 5 as we go over the next day or so. By the time we get into later tomorrow, this will be very close to the west coast of Florida by tomorrow evening, 8 p.m., approaching the Tampa Bay area over towards Sarasota, Anna Maria Island as a major Category 3 hurricane on track, winds at 125 miles per hour. Even if the center were to be up here or a little bit down here, this is going to be rolling its way right into our direction and across the peninsula. So the hurricane conditions will be moving in for us as we work our way into late tomorrow and especially tomorrow night when that sun goes down. We're going to have a hurricane here at night tomorrow night. So all of this will be marching our way. You can see it here very close to the Yucatan Peninsula right now as a powerful Category 4 hurricane at this point. Here's a look at a tropical future track as we take you forward with this. You can see the center of it. This is by later today, 3 o'clock today. There is the center of it, varying between Category 4, Category 5. It's going to expand some. We're going to see a little front front to the north of us help grab this and move it in. As it does, it may drop the winds a touch, but then the wind field will expand. That's why I expect it to go down to about a Category 3 before it makes landfall. And let me stop it right here. This is by the time we get into tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. It is best to be in place for the storm by tomorrow morning because the rain bands will start to work in. But then the worst weather from 7 o'clock on. And you see it here. Here's the core coming in. Some tropical storm and hurricane conditions already moving in right as that sun goes down tomorrow. And then the center of this moves right over Anna Maria Island. And then the center of this will be right near Polk and moving into Osceola County. Could be right over the Four Corners area. At this point, 10 p.m., we're going to have hurricane gust upwards of 90 miles per hour. Could be higher, could be near 100. And then the center works its way across, sitting right on top of Orlando, over toward Winter Park, Hunters Creek, and Kissimmee. That's the center. Around that, the very strong winds. Heaviest rain will be on the north side. Some of the heaviest winds will be on the north side of this as well. South side, there is going to be some dry air sneaking in. Still very strong winds, but there'll be some dry air sneaking in. In this, we could get 5 to 10 inches of some rain. This is right around midnight for tomorrow night. That's when the gusts will be near 100. You may hear some of those kind of scariest sounds with the winds howling and some of those tree branches coming down. And then as we work our way into Thursday morning, the center will be very close to our coast, just offshore, but still those tropical storm conditions on Thursday morning. And as it moves offshore throughout our Thursday, we get that strong onshore winds that's still going to be piling up water. We'll be watching out for some coastal flooding all throughout our Thursday, and then this will eventually move away. Taking a look at the winds, this just kind of gives us a feel. I'll stop it here. 2 o'clock tomorrow. Sustained winds about 20 to 30, even 40 with some higher gusts. So good to be in place tomorrow morning because by the time we hit tomorrow afternoon, the winds are going to be picking up. And then you see here by 7 o'clock, some of the winds right around 50. We could have some gusts to near 60 at this point. Winds near 50 as we even get toward the coast, Palm Coast, or that kind of onshore fetch. And then you can see the center pulling onshore. This would be by midnight. The center could be right over toward Four Corners. Winds right around this, around 70 to 80 miles per hour, but the gust would be higher. We'd have some of those gusts 90 to about 100 miles per hour. That's what we'd be looking at. You see some of the winds 90 miles per hour in Kissimmee, for example, 80 in Claremont. So losing power down trees. And then by Thursday morning, the center sitting right near Volusia and Brevard. And around that, we'll still have some of the winds 60, even 70 miles per hour, 72 in Apopka by 5 in the morning on our Thursday morning. Center moves offshore, but you see as we go throughout the morning, still some of the winds 50, 60 miles per hour along our coast on Thursday morning. And that does mean widespread power outages. We have a very high risk of that, and we need to prepare to lose power. Even up through Marion County, all of us are getting a piece of this hurricane. So hurricane winds are likely. We're going to have the loss of power, down branches, down trees. We'll be watching out for some flooding in pockets, kind of Ian-like, which means we're going to see some significant flooding. We don't have levees around or anything like that. We're not talking about New Orleans style, but we are going to see water in different spots getting into some people's homes if you're in one of those flood zones. So watching out for that as we work our way into Wednesday night and Thursday morning. Have all of your preparations done by later today, and then tomorrow morning, that's when you want to be in place for this hurricane, and then whatever it throws at us, we could be safe through it since we made the preps. Now, as far as the kids go, they can help out to a degree. We don't want to burden them, obviously. They got a lot going on in their minds when something like this is happening. I've been consulting with a mental health counselor on this. Always good to have some snacks and games, and they could put that together. That's kind of the stuff they could do and help with. They could put together their version of a hurricane kit, flashlights. They could build a fort. Good idea to have a sound machine tomorrow night because it's going to be windy. Some trees will be kind of cracking, some scarier sounds. I know the power will go off, but a lot of those sound machines are battery powered. So just a tip there. And a good idea tomorrow night for all of us to sleep in a safe spot. If you have trees on kind of near one corner of your home, it's a good idea to sleep in the other corner of your home by the time we get into tomorrow night. Going county by county for you. Marion, Sumter, Lake, Polk, we're looking looking at those winds that could be near 90 miles per hour late tomorrow night. Same thing, Seminole, Orange, Osceola. Winds could gust to about 90, 5 to 10 inches of rain. North of where that center is where we could see some flooding. And then the winds could gust around 80, 85 along our coast, even through Thursday morning. Then we get the onshore flow, the surge, Flagler County, a 3 to 5 foot surge. We are going to have coastal flooding, beach erosion, Volusia Brevard, about a 2 to 4 foot surge. Now we get back to today. Been watching some of those spotty showers already around this morning. Some folks are evacuating, especially back through the west coast. So Alexa's been keeping an eye on the roads. Hit or miss showers. We'll see that as we go throughout the day. Some spotty showers, 50 to 60% chance as that day goes on. Taking you through the forecast, 7-day forecast on your screen. Hurricane conditions moving late tomorrow night through early Thursday. On the backside of it, we're looking beautiful. We'll have a lot of sunshine this weekend with low to mid 80s. New model data coming in. I want to pinpoint the landfall for this. We'll do that ahead. It's 3:23. Kirsten?
Brian, thank you. And all of us, of course, here in Central Florida are taking this storm seriously and prepping ahead of Hurricane Milton.
Daytona Beach residents are, of course, doing the same. Channel 9 Sam Martello joins us live along Beach Street. And Sam, what are those businesses doing ahead of the storm?
Yeah, Alexa and Kirsten, a lot of them are preparing by setting up boards and sandbags on their businesses. That's what we've seen a lot on this strip here of Beach Street is some sandbags and boards, especially this business right here is boarded up. They're tarped up. And if you actually come over this tarp here, you can see how they have their sandbags set up blocking that door. And so obviously the residents or the businesses are able to get some sandbags, but residents are also going to be able to get some sandbags today. We have some locations we do want to show you if we want to pop that full screen up here this morning. Residents are going to be able to get some sandbags today between 8 this morning and 5 o'clock this evening at those locations you see there on your screen. This is for Volusia County and also at the Volusia County Fairgrounds. Now, there are other areas where residents are going to be able to get sandbags today. The best way to find all of those locations is to go to Volusia County's Facebook page, their government Facebook page. They have a website listed there. They also have a Volusia County Emergency Management app that you can get on your phone that has all of those sandbag locations and a lot of other great information to keep you informed for Volusia County specifically as Hurricane Milton moves and makes landfall. So also, we have, again, a lot to cover here in Volusia County. That was sandbags. There's also going to be a curfew in place. That's going to be starting tomorrow night into Thursday morning. You can see the roadways obviously quiet here at 3:25 this morning, but that's what first responders are going to be wanting to see Wednesday night starting at 8 o'clock going into Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. Because if there is anybody who is in trouble, they need these roadways clear so first responders can get to those locations to help anybody if they're in trouble. Now, on top of the curfew, there's also going to be an evacuation order that's going into place. So anywhere east of the Intracoastal Waterway, where you were just seeing that bridgeway, anywhere east of that, that's going to be under an evacuation order. There's also some other places. I'm reading this from my phone because I do want to get all of this. It's a lot of information correct this morning. So again, east of the Intracoastal Waterway, that evacuation order is going to start tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. We've also got manufactured and mobile homes, low-lying and flood-prone areas, and then campsites and RV parks. So those evacuations east of the Intracoastal Waterway are going to be starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then if you need a place to go if you're in those evacuation zone, there's a lot of shelters that are also going to be opening up tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And I'm going to read some of these off so you just are informed. If you need a place to go, you have these options here in Volusia County. We've got Creekside Middle, DeLand High, University High, Mainland High, and the Volusia County Fairgrounds. Some of those are pet friendly. And then if you have special needs like you are electricity dependent, you can check in Galaxy Middle School and David C. Henson Senior Middle School. A lot of this information we have on our website, but I'm going to have some more for you throughout the morning. But for now, we're live in Daytona Beach. Sam Martello, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Important stuff. Thank you, Sam. We'll be right back.
WFTV's dedicated weather experts ensure you're always in the loop with instant weather updates, detailed 7-day forecasts, interactive radar, and storm tracker, available both on air and online. WFTV.com weather is sponsored by Advent Health Centricare Urgent Care.
Welcome back. It is 3:30 on this Tuesday morning as we track Hurricane Milton, now a Category 4. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. With that, let's get over to certified meteorologist Brian Shields, the latest on what we can expect as this storm makes its way closer to Central Florida.
Yeah, right now near the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, scraping by with some hurricane wind gust here. Here's the core of it, the eye getting itself back together. These things kind of breathe where the eye collapsed and then a new eye has formed. So this will be a Category 4, Category 5 as we go over about the next 24 hours. This about 475 miles away from the west coast of Florida. So it is getting closer and closer. All is on track. And if you take it out, you can see just how large this is. It's going to impact the entire peninsula. We're not escaping this one. And the core of this is moving right into our direction. It'll make landfall just to the west of us and then move right up across Central Florida. And you see this is about 400 miles wide. As this gets closer, it's actually going to expand. The wind field is going to expand even further with it. The winds themselves may drop a little bit, but the wind field will broaden out. That's not a good thing. That means all of us are going to get substantial winds out of this. We do like, of course, a little bit of a drop. It's right on track. There's going to be a front in here. Some extra wind shear, which we'll talk more about ahead, should drop it to about a Category 3 by the time we get into tomorrow evening. This is Wednesday, 8 p.m. You see the core of it very close to the Anna Maria Island area with a landfall anywhere from around 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow night, maybe 10, 11 o'clock. We'll just kind of wait and see on how it evolves throughout the day today as we get a better handle on some of the speed as it takes a little bit more of a curve eventually to the northeast. Category 4 winds 130 to 156. That's the range we're in now. Yesterday was near 180, 185. That's, of course, a Category 5 hurricane. That's what it will fluctuate. It should come on shore near Tampa Bay or just to the south over toward Anna Maria Island or Sarasota with winds of 111 to 129 miles per hour, Category 3. By the time it's on top of us, wind should be 74 to about 95 miles per hour. We're going to have true hurricane conditions here in Central Florida. Now you can see all the models, very good agreement. Bringing this right into the Tampa Bay area or just to the south, and then right up I-4 where the center of this could be over Hunters Creek at some point or over Winter Park, and then being such a large system, all of us feeling the impacts and then moving right off of Volusia and Brevard County as we work our way into Thursday morning. I want to get more into the specific timing as you hang with us, but you can see these reds here, hurricane warnings, hurricane watches along our coast. Those will be changed to warning shortly. But this gives you an idea of kind of the bullseye of this. This is the hurricane core of this that will be moving in. So our watches that are still up will switch over to warning shortly just as this gets closer and we get further out in time. So tomorrow morning, we'll have some breaks in the action. It's not going to be all day stuff tomorrow. The winds really pick up tomorrow afternoon. That's why it's good to be in place by tomorrow morning. We'll start to get some of the stronger rain bands later in the day. But tomorrow night, that's when the worst weather moves in, especially after sunset. That's when we'll have some of those hurricane conditions with us. Winds will be gusting upwards of 90 to even 100 miles per hour by Thursday. Tropical storm winds still along our coast, even inland on Thursday. So we're going to be dealing with this on Thursday, and that's when the water could back up a little bit further, and we could be dealing with more in the way of coastal flooding on Thursday. So what do we need to do here? We'll make the full hurricane preparations, full throttle preparations here. If you have hurricane shutters, put them up along the coast. I know the coast is taking even extra precautions just because of that onshore flow and the higher threat of some flooding. Have your full hurricane kit, batteries, medications, supplies of food. Our reporters will be covering more of that ahead. If you're in one of those particular flood zones that emergency managers are letting you know about, have a go bag in case you are asked to move to a shelter. We don't have mass evacuations here in Central Florida as far as inland zones go, but you've been hearing Demi, Sam, Q, everyone talking about what to expect along our coast with those evacuations. Have complete preps done by later today. So we want to get everything done today because we could see a few rain bands even sneaking in tomorrow morning. Now back to this morning, been watching a couple of spotty showers around, so a hit or miss shower, not as wet as yesterday, but still scattered showers, 50 to 60% chance as our day goes on with numbers in the 80s. Now, fine-tuning stuff. We've had a lot of new information come in overnight, getting that landfall point fine-tuned, the county-by-county winds and the city-by-city winds. I also want to go over that as the eye moves overhead of Central Florida, what we can expect right here. It's 3:35. Kirsten?
And as Hurricane Milton approaches, you have concerns, of course, about things that you'll need to do once you wake up today on this final prep day, be in place by tomorrow.
For those essential things, we turn to Nick Papantonis in Orange County.
There are two things that we want to think about as we head into Tuesday. Two big concerns right now. Number one is gas availability. We saw a lot of stations running out as we got into those later hours on Monday. We can say there are plenty of stations out there right now, depending on where you are, that have gas. And the trucks tend to run at night. A lot of stations do tend to get resupplies. So as people start waking up in the Tuesday hours and thinking about, do we need to top off the tank? There are places, if you drive far enough, you're going to come across a gas station on a main road that currently has gas, and you're going to be able to find that. So there's no need to panic at this time. Just be a little bit patient. Again, we had shortages when it comes to water availability at grocery store shelves. We've been covering all night how there are ice stands on major roads throughout Central Florida that you're going to be able to get water at as well as ice to make sure that your freezer stays cold. You have that extra little layer of comfort there when it comes to power outages. The third thing that we're going to be seeing as we get further into Tuesday is evacuation starting here in Central Florida. We've already had plenty of evacuations along the coast. We've had 2 counties as of the midnight hour on Tuesday that have issued evacuation orders. Volusia with anything east of the intracoastal, and then manufactured homes county-wide, as well as campers and campsites. Marion County echoing that, where anything campers, campsites, low-lying areas, anything that would be considered problematic is going to be under evacuation order as well. Shelters are being set up throughout Central Florida to accommodate these people because, again, manufactured homes especially, not rated for winds, definitely not rated for 100-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts as the forecasts are holding at this time. And so we're going to be starting to see more counties potentially issuing those orders, more individual communities telling their residents to think about what they're going to be doing, especially those 55-plus communities that might have more trouble in a multi-day power outage. So things to look forward to as we enter this final day of preparing, and definitely some safety concerns that should be addressed as we start seeing press conferences happening with our local jurisdictions here in Central Florida as the morning and the afternoon keep going. In Central Florida, the Packing District, Nick Papantonis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And hospitals in our area are mobilizing all their efforts ahead of this storm.
Yeah, Advent Health and Orlando Health have both stockpiled thousands of gallons of water and generators to run the hospitals in case of an emergency and those power outages associated with the storm. Sandbags are secured and placed along doors and windows. Emergency rooms and hospitals will remain open at this time.
If you or anyone you know needs to evacuate because of Milton, Rosen Hotels and Resorts is offering discounted rates for rooms.
The so-called distress rates range from $69 to $139 a night, not including taxes. Rosen is pet friendly. The company offered discounts for Hurricane Helene last month as well.
And homeless shelters here in Central Florida will be opening their doors today and tomorrow.
This will allow people who are unsheltered to be in a safe location before Hurricane Milton moves through our area. And as we were telling you before, Lynx is now providing free rides to homeless shelters and county emergency shelters. Buses will continue to run until winds reach speeds of 35 miles per hour. There will be additional transport services if they're needed.
Troopers in Pinellas County are working to clear out leftover debris from Hurricane Helene, making sure the areas there are ready for Milton.
Officials say debris and high winds can be a dangerous combo, so they're now escorting trucks and doing all they can to keep everyone safe before the storm. In this video, you can see all the debris here lining the streets. This is a major lift that needs to happen within the next 12 hours or so, because this system is moving in here pretty quickly.
You can see that long line of trucks there behind the trooper escorting them, and it's an effort that the governor said they will be giving violations out for, because they're very serious about making sure that they can get the most debris from Hurricane Helene out before Milton makes its way to making basically another direct impact to the Gulf area.
Yeah, it's all hands on deck. Well, major Central Florida airports announced their closures as Hurricane Milton approaches. Orlando International Airport will completely shut down tomorrow at 8 in the morning. Tampa International closes tomorrow at 9 in the morning. Melbourne Orlando International Airport will close to commercial flight operations at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Sanford International Airport announced it's remaining open, and it continues to monitor Hurricane Milton. We also know Orlando Executive will close as well tomorrow afternoon.
At 3:40, taking a live look in Fort Myers. This is a live look courtesy of EarthCam. I worked in Fort Myers for 3 years, and these bridges are so important to getting around that area, because if you've been to the Southwest Florida area, you know there's a lot of water that surrounds that area. And so what happens is you have a lot of places that need to be connected by bridges, and all of them close down, of course, when it's unsafe to drive over them, especially during hurricanes. So this is a live look there in Fort Myers. Things are calm there, but of course, as winds get gradual and intensify with Hurricane Milton making its way up the Gulf, then of course bridges like this will have to be shut down. This is a bridge that connects Fort Myers to areas like Cape Coral, right across the bridge. I took one bridge every day to get to work when I worked there in Southwest Florida. So it's really an important piece of transit for local commuters there. 3:41 on this start to your Tuesday morning. Will be live for you here in continuous coverage on Channel 9.
Continuing to track Hurricane Milton. Brian Shields in Severe Weather Center 9 earlier. It was David Heckard and Tom Terry. We are all hands on deck here.
Now a Category 4 as of a couple hours ago, and that was expected, but there's going to be some back and forth, Category 4 to 5, and Brian Shields can go into that more about why that's going to happen. But ultimately, we're still going to have a major hurricane here in Central Florida, Brian.
Yeah, no significant changes on track as of now, and from what I've been seeing overnight, just kind of fine-tuning things at this point. I hope you're having a decent night. I know a lot of folks are making the preps. I know a lot of crews are up overnight kind of preparing Central Florida. You may be one of those. Thank you for helping out, of course, as we go forward in time. Getting a look at the winds right now at about 155. It'll fluctuate between Category 4, Category 5. Should be about a Category 3 by 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. tomorrow. So 8 p.m. on our Wednesday. Very close to Anna Maria Island. You get just south of St. Petersburg, but close to Tampa Bay. That's where Anna Maria Island kind of sticks out to. And then south through Sarasota, that's where there should be that landfall. And then this will move right across Central Florida as a hurricane. And by Thursday morning, it would be along our east coast, probably just off our east coast, still as a hurricane. That means hurricane conditions are going to move in late tomorrow night into early on a Thursday before this system kind of works its way more off the coast as we get into deeper in the day on Thursday. But even as it's over here on Thursday evening, we're going to have that onshore wind with us, and that is still going to give us some coastal flooding and significant beach erosion up and down our coast. And our beaches have been trying to replenish themselves. Crews have been doing that as well since what happened with Ian and Nicole just over 2 years ago. Now you can see this, all of this headed toward the peninsula of Florida. The core of this will move right over us in Central Florida. Here's future track 9 this morning. Now today we'll see some spotty showers at times. Rain chance will pick up a little bit more as we hit our afternoon. Now it'll start to move away from Mexico here, and then let me stop it right here. This will be north of Cuba. So if you have friends and family there, this is all north of Cuba. The Keys are looking generally okay. There's going to be high surf, of course, and some rain bands possible eventually in the Florida Keys. Heaviest weather will be to the north of there, though. And let me stop it here. This is by the time we get near landfall tomorrow. Could happen 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow. Could be around 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow night, all p.m. As we hit after sunset. That's when we'll have landfall. And as we have landfall, this is a big system, right? So we're already going to have some hurricane and tropical storm conditions moving in. This is moving right at us. Even if the center were to be up here or a little bit more down here, this is still going to take this trajectory right across central Florida. That's why we are making those hurricane preparations in all of our counties with that. The center of it should be right on top of us near midnight as we get into tomorrow night. Hurricane conditions, the north side of it, just north of the eye, and we'll see where the eye comes on shore, and we'll be tracking it for you. But just to the north of the eye and that eye wall, that's where some of the heaviest rain will be, where we'll see some significant flooding and some of the strongest winds in that southern tier. We'll have some dry slots sneaking in, but still the hurricane winds. This will be sitting right on top of Orlando by the time we hit Thursday morning as a Category 1 hurricane, sitting right on top of downtown Orlando, and all of us feeling the impacts, of course, and then trying to move offshore of Volusia, Brevard, and Flagler by 7 in the morning on Thursday. But still, those tropical storm conditions, and with that northeasterly flow at that point, strong winds that'll pile up the water along the coast, the beach erosion, and of course the flooding backing up some of our waterways. That's why along our coast, our reporters have been doing an awesome job of keeping you up to date on the ongoing evacuations. Again, usually we don't evacuate as a whole in central Florida. Interior sections we don't, but there's exceptions, of course, when we're talking about the coast. So the coast in central Florida, that's where we're going to be dealing with some of those evacuations later in the day on Thursday. Moves away. Still gusty winds, though, even deeper into the day on Thursday. Speaking of which, let's get a look at some of those winds. Let me stop it here. This is 2 p.m. tomorrow. These are the sustained winds, 30, 40. So they start to pick up in the afternoon. That's why it's good to be in place tomorrow morning. And then we'll just see what this does as the rain bands work in. Winds will pick up as we get deeper into our Wednesday. Wednesday by 8 o'clock. The center getting close to a landfall. Maybe have already made landfall at that point. You see some of the winds, 58 miles per hour in the Villages, 46 Four Corners, 54 in Haines City, 44 in Palm Coast. Then as we get into tomorrow night after sunset, the center right on top of us, right around that, winds could be near 90 miles per hour in Orlando. Potential of some higher gusts. Gusts could be near 100 miles per hour. You see some of the winds in Claremont could be around 75 with gusts 90, pushing 100. So very strong winds. This means down trees, down tree branches, and we're going to lose power. Then the center by Thursday morning could be very close to Volusia County, Brevard as well, Flagler as well, right along the coast. You see the little drop in the winds there on this model. That's because it's saying, hey, the eye is going to come right on top of me. In the eye, you briefly get a calm condition. Strongest action is right around that eye wall. But even Thursday morning, we're going to have some winds 60, 70 miles per hour along the coast. Palm Coast about 71. Then it moves offshore further. But through the morning, still tropical storm conditions on our Thursday morning. So widespread power outages. You see, here's the official track. It may shift a little more north, maybe a little bit more to the south, but this sucker's huge. So all of us are getting it, but the center as of now could pass right over Orlando, over toward Titusville, maybe over toward New Smyrna Beach, and that means the strongest action will be moving through for us. Of course, it'll weaken some gradually with the interaction of land. It won't be as strong as right where it comes on shore near Anna Maria Island, but we're getting a hurricane here. So what's going to happen here? We'll loss of power down trees and branches. Not all our trees. We're not getting wiped out. We're not getting wiped off the map or anything like that here, but we've got a hurricane here. We'll be watching out for some flooding that could be similar to Ian in some spots, in which we could have some problems with water getting into some folks' home, not like you see in New Orleans or anything like that, but we'll be watching that. Have all of the preps done by later today, and you want to be in place by tomorrow morning. Maybe okay at times, just depending on how these rain bands work out, where we can be out and about if we need to run an errand or two tomorrow morning. I'm not saying that, but it's just best to be in place by the time we get into tomorrow morning, because tomorrow afternoon, that's when conditions will start to worsen. As far as what to do with the kids, they can help to a degree. We don't want to burden them. They got a lot going on in those little mines. We got a lot going on in our big mines that people don't need to know about. But snacks, games, they can make their own little hurricane kit. They could build a fort, have a sound machine, because overnight storms, overnight hurricanes are always scarier with the winds, the sounds of trees breaking. Of course, you're going to lose power, but a battery-powered sound machine may be a good idea. Maybe run a fan, or run a fan. That would work as a sound machine as well. Sleep in a safe spot tomorrow night. I want you sleeping in a safe area. If you have tree branches, trees that hang over your house, maybe on one side of the house, Tomorrow night, we're going to sleep on the other side. Well, not we, that would be awkward, but you're going to sleep on the other side of the house. I want you safe during this. I want everyone safe. We got a hurricane coming, but I want everyone safe as we get into Thursday and when that sun comes up on Thursday. Marion, Sumter, Lake Polk, we're looking at winds that'll gust around 90 miles per hour. Seminole, Orange, Osceola, it's much of the same. We'll just see where the eye wall is with this. Some of the gusts could be pushing 100, 5 to 10 inches of rain possible. The surge in Flagler County, about 3 to 5 feet. I mentioned on Thursday, as this starts to work offshore, that water will pile up. Volusia into Brevard, about 2 to 4 feet. And that's why they're making those evacuation orders in some spots along our coast to keep folks safe with the potential flooding even along our east coast. Now, this morning, we've been watching out for a couple of those spotty showers around throughout the day. Rain chance will pick up later today, about a 50 to 60% chance. So our 7-day forecast for you. As we go throughout the day, we're making the prep. Scattered showers and storms. Tomorrow morning will probably be okay as far as the winds go, but by the afternoon, that's when some of the rougher stuff moves in, especially tomorrow night. Early Thursday, hurricane conditions with us. A hurricane on top of us tomorrow night, but always looking at some of the nice stuff on the backside of this. Low to mid 80s as we get into the weekend. Something to look forward to. Look at those overnight lows for a change. We're going to have fall once this thing moves out of here with overnight lows in the 60s this weekend. Trying to find some good news in the forecast. Now, coming up, I want to get back to the computer models. Some of the new data just came in. What it means for our county by county wind outlook. We'll cover that together in a few. It's 3:52. Alexa.
Brian, thank you. People in Osceola County continue to prep for Hurricane Milton.
And Channel 9's Daryl Matthews spoke with leaders with the county's Emergency Operations Center.
The Osceola Emergency Operations Center's goal is to save lives and prevent injuries during emergencies, which we will be seeing. And that means prepping for Hurricane Milton, which we will be seeing a powerful storm. And that means resources are coming from the county. And some of those resources are sandbag filling locations. Now, hundreds of people swamped Heritage Park to make sure that they had what they need to prevent flooding of their home. Now, the director of EOC also gave advice for people to do while they are hunkering down inside of their homes. And some of those are staying informed, paying attention to changes in the storm's path, wind speeds, and emergency alerts, securing the home. And this is the time where you can install some storm shutters or board up windows, take outdoor items that can fly away indoors, checking the roof, door, and windows for any weak points that could be vulnerable to the storm. Make an emergency kit. Have supplies that can last for up to 72 hours. Prepping your vehicle, and that's filling the gas tank and checking tires and fluids and keeping an emergency kit inside the car. And a backup power source that's charging all electronic devices and considering using a backup generator if power outages are expected in your area. Plan for communication. Let family and friends know your plans. Have a way to stay in touch with them throughout this entire hurricane.
We've been going through several days of our preparedness actions, actually through Sunday, ramping up to what we're doing now. So we've had the sandbag operations going on for several days. We're going to continue that through noon tomorrow, so our residents can take that protective actions. We've been going through our measures here at the EOC, working our shelter plans, identifying those shelter locations and getting those ready.
The EOC will be planning to run on a 24-hour schedule now through the rest of this storm. They will also be reaching out to vulnerable residents of Osceola County to see what their plans are, if they need any resources or transportation to a nearby shelter. They will be giving out updates throughout the day starting this morning. Back to you.
Daryl, thank you. Well, Disney World now says it's closely monitoring the path of Hurricane Milton.
The resort says it does expect to operate under normal conditions, at least for today. It does say, though, they could be making adjustments based on the forecast in the coming days. Some areas, though, are temporarily already closed. Fort Wilderness Resort and Camping Ground and the Treehouse Villas at Saratoga Springs Resort are temporarily closed at 11 o'clock and will likely remain closed until Sunday, October 13th. So that's something mindful of. 11 a.m. tomorrow until Sunday is when those Copper Creek cabins, Fort Wilderness, Treehouse Villas will be closed ahead of the storm. So something to be mindful of there. If you have reservations, you'll have to reach out to them specifically and see when you can reschedule your visit. Of course, we're keeping track of all of our areas. We haven't heard from Universal yet. We do know about Legoland, the closing, areas
Gatorland.
like, Gatorland, Busch Gardens and Tampa, obviously, with them taking a bigger hit than we will be. So we're keeping track of our major parks, and we'll get you those details as soon as they come into our newsroom.
And for Helene, we did see Universal make the call to close Halloween Horror Nights. So that is something that we can very easily see once again. But at this point, Universal Orlando, again, saying it's currently operating under normal hours, and they will continue to monitor the weather. So if you have plans to visit any of the parks, or maybe know someone that does, you can call the office there, and they will, of course, help you with those accommodations and reschedule. It's 800-711-0080. Here's a live look this morning at I-75 and the Turnpike. We had seen bumper-to-bumper traffic in the late night and early morning hours, but take a look here. Significant progress for drivers leaving the West Coast this morning, and maybe just people out and about for that normal morning commute. We will, of course, see traffic pick back up again as we hit some daylight hours and we see people leaving the Gulf Coast. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay with Channel 9 Eyewitness News as we track Milton.
4 a.m. on this Tuesday morning as we continue to track Hurricane Milton. All eyes on this as Florida continues to prepare. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. In the last few hours, that storm downgraded to a Category 4. It's to be expected. Could jog up again to a Category 5. These type of back and forths were expected with this storm. And with more on that is certified meteorologist Brian Shields with us on the latest. The 5 a.m. update, we're about an hour away from the newest track.
Yeah, and it should be generally everything should be holding as a whole. We'll have some new information as far as the winds go and things like that. So here's a look all on track right near the extreme north coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. You can see some hurricane conditions trying to clip by. Fortunately, the very core of this is just to the north, but they are getting hit right along the coast of parts of northern Mexico, the Yucatan, that is. Heavier weather will clip by Cancun as well later today. There's Cuba, the west end of Cuba. This will be all to the north of Cuba, because it will eventually make its turn up into our direction because of a front that's going to kind of help grab this and steer it about 470 miles away from the west coast of Florida now. So inching its way toward us as we go throughout the day. We'll see it getting closer and closer. And then tomorrow, we're going to start to see some of those bigger impacts moving in. We have a hurricane headed to us in central Florida, all of our counties, and we need to make those hurricane preparations today. Here's the latest winds at 155 miles per hour, moving to the east at 9 miles per hour. Today, we're going to see that curve east-northeast, so a hint of a northerly curve. That's the first initial curve into our direction. It's no longer doing that little southerly jog, so more to the east on track. By tonight, could be a Category 5, Category 4, Category 5 over the next 24 hours. Once we get into tomorrow morning, it'll be about a Cat 4 off to the west of the peninsula, off to the west of us. And then once we at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, winds around 125 on track, moving right near Tampa Bay. Could be a little bit south, could be a little bit north. But for us, that doesn't make a huge difference here in central Florida, because that's going to move the hurricane right on top of us here, especially tomorrow night after sunset, all the way through early Thursday. Getting a look at the computer models, the fresh stuff in from overnight, all taking aim near Anna Maria Island, the Tampa Bay area. We have not seen much fluctuations. Yesterday, they were more like this. Everything's just squeezing together right where we had expected. So by the time we get into late tomorrow, making that landfall, then moving right across us, all of the models just kind of scooting right across central Florida. And that means we're going to have those hurricane conditions, whether it's a little bit up here or a little bit over here. We're getting a hurricane here in central Florida. Now, one thing we're going to see as we get into the next hour, the watches should all go to warnings. We have those hurricane warnings up in this kind of a hotter red shading here. The darker red's hurricane watches. Just as this advance out in time, we get more of those watches turning to warnings. Point being, where you're seeing this kind of redder shadings, that's the bullseye of this, and that is us, as this will move right into our direction as a hurricane. So these watches we have along the coast are about to flip over to warnings. We're going to get fresh advisories coming up in about 45 minutes. So for tomorrow, the winds are going to pick up. We're going to see the strong rain band starting to work in later in the day. Winds will pick up in the afternoon. You know something's happening. And then tomorrow night, that's when the hurricane conditions move in. The worst weather moves in. It will be scary at times, so we will be here tracking everything for you through the night. We've been on nonstop since really a couple nights ago as we work our way into Wednesday night into Thursday. Thursday morning, still some tropical storm conditions, and then it will move offshore Thursday morning, but that's going to back up some of the water. We'll get more of that northeasterly flow. We'll get into more of that ahead. So what do? Make the full throttle hurricane preparations. If you have the hurricane shutters, put them up, get those hurricane kits ready, secure your outdoor items. What you need to do to keep your home safe, charge some of those portable chargers, all of that stuff, because most likely we're going to lose power. If you're in one of those flood zones, you may be asked to leave. That's not going to be for many of us. That'll be for a few of us. So good idea to have that go bag. But along our coast as well, there are some evacuation orders along our east coast. So good to have that bag on hand in case you need to leave. And if you are asked to leave, definitely do so. You're being asked to leave for good reason. Now, we get a look at a couple spotty showers around this morning. Hit or miss showers as we go throughout the day. Rain chance will pick up some, about a 50 to 60% chance. Not as wet as yesterday, but we're still going to see some rounds of wet weather for the day ahead. Now, coming up, I want to swing back to the city by city winds. We could start to get a real good handle on that. We'll go county by county too. The power loss that we can expect, and Tropical Future Track, our in-house version, which did a really good job with forecasting, help forecast Helene. I'm going to use that. We'll take you out in time. I'll see you in just a few. It's 4:05. Alexa.
Brian, thank you. A massive evacuation is underway from Florida's west coast.
I've been saying those traffic cams, they're pretty intense in the overnight hours, and many people are headed towards Central Florida. Reporter Q McCrae is live for us at the Turkey Lake rest stop on the Florida Turnpike. The Q, it's pretty quiet there now, though.
Yeah, things are really calm. You know, I was speaking to some of the workers inside, and they say this is about normal when it comes to a Tuesday morning here at the Turkey Lake Plaza along the Turnpike. We've spoken to people who are heading to work. We spoke to some people who are heading home. We also spoke to a couple off camera who are heading to the airport to head to Vegas. But for the most part, no one here yet is evacuating. But we did want to show you this. This is about 40 miles west, if you will, northwest of where we are right now. This is video, a live shot rather, of I-75 at the Turnpike interchange. This is in the Wildwood, Ocala area, and you'll notice just how busy it is over there. These folks that you're looking at the moment, they're heading northbound, leaving the area of Tampa, leaving Sarasota, leaving Bradenton, leaving Fort Myers, heading north to get out of harm's way. Again, Hurricane Milton is heading towards the west coast of Florida right now, and the people you're looking at are being smart about evacuating the area because the storm surge and the winds are expected to be very aggressive, to say the least. That being said, we did speak to one woman earlier this morning who was in her car by herself. She's actually heading towards the Ocala area. She's actually on her way to Atlanta, but she's from the Port St. Lucie area. She lives in a manufactured home, and she said she didn't feel safe staying in her home, so she's driving north to be with family. And that's a smart thing to do, especially with how strong this storm is expected to be once it hits Central Florida. So some people are heeding the warning. They're getting out of Dodge. Other people are heading to work. Reporting live. Q McCrae, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
Q, thank you. Yesterday, we saw a lot of the gas stations run out of gas, but from what we see there for you at Turkey Lake, there is no issue with gas, right? Q, people still able to fill up. They have supply there for gas.
Oh, good question. They are fine here. they're fine at Turkey Lake Plaza right now. They have more than enough gas to last them at least through the day. I did ask that question to the worker inside. As a matter of fact, there's a tanker over to the side there. We're trying to zoom into it now. They have more than enough gas to last them here. They're restocking as they can. But you're right, Alexa. As a matter of fact, speaking personally, I was filling up some gas cans yesterday in the Seminole County area, and 4 or 5 gas stations I had to head to before finding one that had some gas. I had to pay a little bit extra than I wanted to, $3.25 a gallon as opposed to the low $3 range. But yeah, gas stations are running out of gas. Many won't get another shipment for some time, so be mindful of that too. If you haven't had an opportunity to fill some gas cans, it's unclear as to when a lot of gas stations will be able to get a new shipment of gas to serve the public. So make sure you have enough fuel for you and your family.
I feel your pain. I had to fill up gas yesterday at nearly $4 a gallon because that's all the station had. So got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I was just checking Gas Buddy right now, and it seems more stations are now popping up with having that fuel. Obviously, those overnight deliveries going to make an impact this morning.
They will. Meantime, if you have an RV and are looking to evacuate, Atlanta actually might be a good option for you.
Yeah, the Atlanta Motor Speedway is opening its campgrounds for Hurricane Milton evacuees. There's space available for RVs as well as pop-up campers and tents. People will be able to access a nearby shower house as well. There are also a limited number of camping spaces with water, power, and sewer hookups for a fee of $35 per night.
You can also now call 211 for help during Hurricane Milton.
Heart of Florida United Way is partnering with the Hurricane Helpline to connect you to those ever important services.
You can get information on shelter, sandbags, food, and even offer emotional support, which is so important for elderly populations maybe having to ride out the storm by themselves. The free service for you available 24/7 all year long. Now, while you pick up your last minute supplies today, remember today's the last day for prep. Be in place tomorrow by 8 a.m. We are hoping, at least One Blood is hoping, that you'll stop and have just a few minutes to donate some blood.
Yeah, they say the need is urgent for blood donations right now. They stress it's important to get blood to hospitals before landfall. Hurricanes can get in the way of blood collections for days. The organization says all blood types are needed, but they're especially in need of O negative and O positive, as well as platelets. FEMA is helping the Southeast prepare for Hurricane Milton while also assisting in ongoing recovery from Hurricane Helene.
But unfortunately, they say misinformation is making their job harder. The agency says one false claim says survivors only received $750 from FEMA, but that says it's just initial payment for essentials like food and water. FEMA says additional assistance is available. Another rumor alleges that FEMA funds are being diverted, but officials say that is not true.
It's causing confusion, it's causing chaos, and people aren't able to get the help that they need because they're seeing so much information that is not true.
FEMA urges people to be aware of misinformation and apply for the aid that they need. 4:11 on this Tuesday morning, taking a live look at Tampa right now. It is dark out there, but of course, this live shot from Hillsborough County is courtesy Earth Cam, and we know as Hurricane Milton makes its way closer to Florida, it'll be making an impact sometime in some area along the west coast there. So Tampa is definitely in the zone of being extra prepared, evacuating if necessary, especially in low-lying areas. Storm surge going to be a problem for the Gulf Coast. Once again, just about 2 weeks after Helene.
And we heard earlier from the mayor of Tampa, Jane Castor, being quite frank, quite crass, saying it is time to get out. You may not survive this, so heed those evacuation orders if you are indeed in an evacuation zone. Stay with us as our continuous coverage will continue after this break right here for Hurricane Milton. We'll be right back. 4:15 as all eyes are on Category 4 now, Hurricane Milton. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. We're now about 45 minutes away from the latest track coming out. So let's get the latest from Severe Weather Center 9. And you've been tracking this for so long. This is far from your first rodeo. I was just getting a little caffeine in this early morning hour. Been up since 12:30. It was just didn't get away in time for the commercial break. You've been doing this well Under, what, about 20 years? Well,
So you're aging me here? What's happening?
I'm just trying to show that this is not your first rodeo, and we got this.
We do have this, and this is a big threat for us, and you've been here for a long time, both of you as well, and we've been watching these systems, and a lot kind of go around us, and then we have huge issues like we saw with Hurricane Nicole 2 years ago, Hurricane Ian, Irma that rolled right on top of us. This here is going to be another one of these, but it could be even more substantial for a lot of us because it's going to come right through central Florida. So sometimes it's a piece of us that kind of get some huge damage and others not so much. This time, all of us are going to be feeling this. Winds at 155 should fluctuate between a 4 and a 5 as we go over the next day or so. Then by tomorrow morning, category 4. Tomorrow evening, it should drop off to about a category 3 with some of that wind shear just kind of getting at this system. But the thing is, when the winds go down slightly as we work our way into tomorrow evening, the wind field is actually going to expand, and that's why we don't miss out on this. Even if the track were to shift a little bit more north or a little bit more to the south, it moves across central Florida. So we have a hurricane coming at us by tomorrow night. Hurricane conditions Thursday morning, still as a hurricane, very close to our coast. So it moves across central Florida. It moves across us as a hurricane. That's why we're going to have the gusts 90 to 100 miles per hour, widespread power outages across central Florida. So here it is. Yesterday it was over here, little jog to the south. Now it's moving due east. And then today we're going to start to see a little more of an east-northeasterly turn. It's already almost starting that, kind of the first signs that we're going to see it starting to make its way to Florida. So you see it here on Tropical Future Track. Here's the core of it. This is 10 this morning right there, going out in time. This is 4 p.m. Now for us later today, we'll see some areas of rain and storms scattered about. But Milton is back to the west of us. And then you see it right there. Now this is by the time we get into tomorrow morning, still most likely a category 4. Winds will go down a little bit, but the wind field expands. Now tomorrow morning, it's good to be in place. Out ahead of it, we're going to see some heavier batches of rain at times. We'll also have a lot of breaks in the action. If you need to sneak in a couple errands as you watch us on TV tomorrow, we'll be able to get you around that. We'll let you know if it's okay to be out and about for an hour or two, or if you need to be inside. But best to be where you need to be for this by tomorrow morning. And then you see it here, stopping it right here. This is by 8 p.m. May make landfall a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, but as it approaches the coast, that's when we're already going to get the tropical storm and hurricane conditions. So the center may be over Anna Maria Island, but we're going to see hurricane winds starting to move into Polk, Osceola, Sumter, parts of Marion as we get into tomorrow evening, and then spreading across Orange County, Seminole, Volusia, Brevard, and even parts of Flagler. And you see it right on top of us once we work our way near midnight tomorrow night. A little bit scarier at night, no doubt. So we'll be here to take you through it. Southern end of this, there'll be dry air sneaking in. We see that sometimes across our area with the landfalling hurricane. Not as wet. The northern core of this, north of the center, that's where we could get about 5 to 10 inches of rain and see some of that flooding. And then the center of this will pass right through Orlando, most likely, right over Seminole County, then offshore of Volusia and Brevard. By the time we get into Thursday morning, this is Thursday at 2 a.m., a hurricane on top of us tomorrow night. And then by the time we at 8 a.m., trying to work its way offshore. But then we get a strong onshore wind, still tropical storm conditions with us. Even Thursday morning with the onshore wind, that's going to back up the water. Significant beach erosion, watching out for coastal flooding. We're going to have that evacuation information as you stay with us this morning. We have a lot of new information. We're in constant touch with the emergency managers from every single one of our counties. Those men and women do a wonderful job. They're around the clock right now working this as well to help keep everyone safe. Then by Thursday, 2 p.m., it's offshore, most likely still as a hurricane. So we're still going to have some strong winds at times, even deeper into the day on our Thursday. Speaking of those winds, as we go city by city, getting a feel of some of the sustained winds. Not bad tomorrow morning unless you get some rain. Tomorrow afternoon, it's going to be picking up. 3 p.m. on our Wednesday, see some of the winds sustained 30 to about 40 at times, but then it really picks up. As this starts to make landfall, that's when the center moves onshore. You could see some of the winds, 63 miles per hour in the Villages, 62 Haines City, 46 Palm Coast, 55 Leesburg, Fruitland Park, 50 in Claremont. Then as we approach midnight, right around midnight, look at the winds with the center of this right on top of us. In the center, winds go down for a brief period of time. The center is actually calm. It's that eye wall around it that has the worst weather. So you can see the winds. See how the winds go down right there? That's kind of the model showing that, hey, the center is going to move across. Winds near 70 in Kissimmee, 80 in Orlando, 70 in Claremont. Gusts could be higher, 84 in Bithlo, 79 in Titusville, but higher gusts. Some of the gusts will be right near 100 miles per hour late tomorrow night into early Thursday morning, right around midnight. And then you see the center by Thursday morning starting to work its way offshore, but the wind's still 63 in Apopka, 70 in Palm Coast, 66 in Deltona, about 50 in Titusville, near 60 Melbourne and Palm Bay. Center moves offshore, still gusty winds at times as we go throughout the entire day on Thursday, although they're going to be subsiding some as the day goes on. So widespread power outages expected. Look at that track, and we'll see how that new track comes out. That would be the center moving right across central Florida. So what's going to happen here? We'll loss of power, down branches, down trees, and we'll have some of those pockets of flooding inland in some locations, the low-lying areas. Emergency officials are also trying to let folks know about that. There's been those sandbag sites as we get toward the coast. Different story with that coastal flooding where there are some evacuations. Have all of those preps done by later today, and it's best to be where you need to be for this hurricane tomorrow morning because we could already get some of those rain bands working in. County by county, Marion, Sumter, Lake, Polk, winds gusting to about 90. I know I'm zooming through this. I'll go slower in a second. Same thing, Seminole, Orange, Osceola, winds gusting to about 90, 5 to 10 inches of rain. Worse weather tomorrow night into Thursday along our coast. Watching out for the coastal flooding. The surge in Flagler, 3 to 5 feet, in Brevard, 2 to 4 feet. I promise I'll go a little bit slower ahead. We want to get some new information in to you in a second. Now, as we work our way into Wednesday into Thursday, of course, those hurricane conditions I just spelled out. We do have beautiful fall weather by the time we get into the weekend. Coming up, I'll fine-tune the county by county outlook in the latest on the strength of this. That new info coming in, I'll see you ahead. It's 4:23. Kirsten?
Thank you, Brian. As we mentioned, up to 15 feet of storm surge is possible in areas that are still recovering from Hurricane Helene.
ABC's Rena Roy has a look at the preps happening across our state.
This morning, the mass exodus from Florida's Gulf Coast is underway, with Hurricane Milton exploding into a once-in-a-lifetime storm.
This is going to be an event like none other. Helene was mostly a water event for us. This is going to be wind, water, storm surge, rain, you name it. It's going to bring everything towards our community.
Hurricane hunters flying into the center of Milton, monitoring the historically rapid growth of the storm. In just hours, becoming the strongest hurricane in the Gulf in nearly 2 decades, fueled by the warmer than usual water. You can see satellite images of the storm as it churns in the ocean. Milton is expected to weaken into a Category 3 storm before potentially making landfall sometime Wednesday night or early Thursday near Tampa Bay. 15 inches of rain possible, and the Tampa area could see up to 15 feet of storm surge.
We want everybody to be safe, but if you stay in an evacuation zone, I can't promise you that you'll be safe.
Airports in Tampa and Orlando shutting down. Schools in at least 20 counties closed today. Many more following suit on Wednesday. Millions across the state rushing to prepare once again. Less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene devastated parts of the state. People stocking up on supplies, grocery store shelves running bare, some gas stations running dry, but the governor insists there is enough supply. Another urgent concern this morning is the debris from Hurricane Helene still piled up in coastal communities. Some landfills now open around the clock.
Crews will continue working to clear everything until tropical storm force winds hit. They will need every minute.
FEMA says 20 million meals and 40 million liters of water are ready to go, and 30,000 workers from as far as California are standing by to help restore power. Rena Roy, ABC News, Tampa, Florida.
At 4:25 this morning, we take a live look at I-75 moving northbound. This is right near the turnpike. At 1 this morning, this area was bumper to bumper. We were seeing some intense slowdowns as lots of people were on this stretch of highway. Several, of course, leaving the West Coast. Now we're starting to return to normal on our highways. But again, tolls are suspended. The governor made that announcement yesterday. Tolls across West and Central Florida are suspended for a week now, allowing people to move and evacuate before the storm and then to help in those recovery efforts, of course, after the storm.
426 on this early Tuesday morning. We'll be live with you and continue our coverage right after the break here on Eyewitness News.
4:30 on this Tuesday morning as we continue to track Hurricane Milton. Channel 9 will guide you through all the preps you need to make. Today's your final prep day. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. Overnight, that storm was downgraded to a Category 4, but we're 30 minutes away from the latest track being released at 5 a.m. So we'll have more on that with certified meteorologist Brian Shields, keeping an eye on every part of this storm. It could fluctuate between 4 and 5 for quite some time here.
Yeah, wouldn't worry about a downgrade or upgrade at this point. It is what it is. Very powerful hurricane, major hurricane. Good morning. Thank you for being with us as we track this. This hurricane is headed right at us in Central Florida. If you're just joining us from overnight, very powerful system, no doubt. And again, no huge fluctuations. Even when the Hurricane Center releases its new track shortly, generally the same. We watch the track nonstop. That's what we're doing here. So you can see it again, just how big it is. This is going to be working its way right up to the peninsula of Florida. And of course, we're in line for the core of this, the worst weather of this. Now, of course, a little bit worse right where it comes on shore, no doubt, with that surge. And then it will work right across Central Florida. Right now, this is about 400 miles across the hurricane as a whole. Of course, the strongest winds are closer to the center, but this is going to expand. As this works its way closer, it'll change its shape a little bit. The overall winds may go down a touch, but the wind field is actually going to widen out. That's why all of our counties are going to be dealing with this hurricane. All of us are going to be getting this. You see the very latest track. Winds at 155. Again, the new track should come in just a couple minutes. By tomorrow morning, it'll be around a Cat 4. Could be a Cat 5, maybe a Cat 3. We'll see. Winds around 145. Then it should be a Category 3 by 8 p.m. tomorrow. As it gets very close to landfall. Looks like that landfall will be very close to Anna Maria Island, near the Tampa Bay area. Could be just south over toward Sarasota. But either way, that drives it right into our direction. It moves it across Central Florida as a hurricane. So as it stands now, winds are at about 130 to 156, Category 4. It should make landfall with winds around 125, which would be a Category 3. As it's on top of us, it should be a true Category 1 hurricane, winds 74 to 95, which also means higher gust. We are going to have some gusts where the eye is, right around the eye, that will be near 100 miles per hour in this. So we're going to lose power for most of us as we get into late in the day tomorrow, but more so by tomorrow night, the power will be going out. And you see all the models in very good agreement, swinging this up. This is a really good agreement right up anywhere from Tampa Bay. Could be just north, a little bit to the south, but either way for us here, that's not going to play a big difference in our forecast. Of course, the landfall point, very critical for exactly how much of a surge is in Tampa Bay or if it's kind of an offshore wind. So we'll get into that surge later. But again, this moves it right across Central Florida. And you see the watches and warnings. We have the hurricane warnings that are out in the red, hurricane watches in the deeper red, but that shows you the bullseye for this. That'll move right through. And where we have those watches, that is going to switch over pretty soon. As this advances out in time, we're about to see these hurricane watches change to hurricane warnings. So you'll be getting those alerts on your phones pretty soon. So as we get into tomorrow, winds will pick up. They get a few rain bands in the morning, but it's mainly late in the day. And then tomorrow night, that's when the hurricane conditions move in. The worst weather, go figure, overnight when it is dark outside. And then by Thursday morning, still tropical storm conditions. We're still going to have gusty winds, and the flooding could be even worse along our coast on Thursday because we'll start to get that onshore flow, and that will give us even a stronger, at least kind of back up the water along our coast. So we are in full preparation mode. Secure all your outdoor items or bring them in. Full preps for today. None of the halfway stuff that we sometimes do. Have that full hurricane prep. Be prepared to lose power. Watching the flood zones very carefully. Have a go bag if you're asked to evacuate. That's mainly along our coast. We don't have widespread evacuation evacuations in Central Florida inland, but we are going to have some, I believe we have some along our coast. Our reporters have been covering that. Complete all of the preps by late today before the sun goes down, because tomorrow morning we just want to be ready, and then we'll see what this thing will do. Some spotty showers around this morning. We've been seeing a couple rolling onshore, so as we plan throughout our day, it'll be wet at times. Not as wet as yesterday, but still into the afternoon and evening, especially scattered showers. A couple spotty ones this morning, scattered about as we hit our afternoon. Coming up, I did update the city by city winds. We're waiting on the new track on this and tropical future track. I want to fine tune that. I want to show you the system as the eye will be right over Central Florida. We'll do that ahead. It's 4:34. Kirsten?
Brian, thank you. Officials in Brevard County have declared a state of emergency. Brevard is also included in the list of over 50 counties currently under a state of emergency declared by Governor Ron DeSantis.
Channel 9's Giovanni Diaz is in Cape Canaveral this morning. And Gio, the county is expected to be the last one to deal with the storm, but regardless, people are still getting ready.
Yes, Alexa, good morning to you. And that's because Milton can bring a lot of rain and wind to this area. And that means especially flooding, because we're so close here to the ocean. Now, because of that flooding concern, there are 4 sandbag distribution locations open across the cities of Melbourne, Palm Bay, Merritt Island, and Titusville. Those sandbag locations will be open today at 8 o'clock and will close at 6 p.m., but that closing time could change based on the weather. Each resident can take up to 10 sandbags, and county workers will be there to help them with that distribution. Also, the sheriff's office will have supervised inmate crews on site to fill up and load up those bags there. Residents we spoke with yesterday say they're watching closely as Hurricane Milton approaches the west coast of Florida. Take a listen.
And, you know, having been through enough hurricanes in my life here in Florida, I don't want to take any chances at all. And the other coast has storm surge to worry about, which thankfully we don't. But everything else that comes along with the hurricane is sure coming our way.
As far as schools go, we are seeing some closures today at 2 p.m. They will remain closed until at least Thursday, but that could change also based on the impacts that we will see here in Brevard County. Also, the Melbourne International Airport is expected to close tomorrow at 2 p.m. and we will only reopen when it's safe to do so. Reporting live in Brevard County this morning, I'm Giovanni Diaz, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And if you or anyone you know needs to evacuate because of Milton, Rosen Hotels and Resorts is offering discounted rates.
The so-called distress rates range from $69 to $139 a night, not including taxes. Rosen is pet friendly. The company offered discounts for Hurricane Helene last month as well.
And all Central Florida school districts have announced closures because of Hurricane Milton.
Osceola and Lake County schools canceled class today through Thursday. Orange, Seminole, Brevard, Volusia, and Marion County schools plan to close on Wednesday and Thursday. Sumter and Flagler County schools are closed Wednesday through Friday. FDOT crews across Central Florida are working hard to keep our roads clear before, during, and after the storm.
In fact, these are pictures of those teams hard at work yesterday. FDOT says they've been checking roadways that are vulnerable to flooding, like A1A here in Central Florida. They're also preparing heavy equipment and removing weakened trees while monitoring the storm. FDOT says it's doing everything it can to reduce disruptions and danger ahead of the storm and get back to normal as soon as the storm passes. Now, the Florida Department of Transportation, meantime, is also suspending Sunrail service starting today.
Sunrail is expected to stay closed through at least Thursday. Crews are securing the gates at 129 railroad crossings. They're also inspecting and storing the train fleet and securing railroad equipment. Once the storm passes, there will be complete inspections along the railroad corridor to assess the impacts of Milton. Crews will then reinstall gates, remove any obstructions from the tracks, and conduct those safety checks. If you need help evacuating from your home, Uber is offering some free rides to shelters.
Yeah, the company is working with the state to make sure that people are in a safe place before Milton makes landfall. Everybody can get this by downloading the Uber app from the Apple Store or Google Play. Tap the icon of the account there on the bottom right of your screen and then wallet. Then type in the promo code Milton Relief. It's all one word. You'll then get a free ride to a shelter of your choice. You can find a list of shelters on our website, WFTV. WFTV.com. Also be mindful here that Lynx will also providing free rides to shelters as long as they're able to stay on the roads. Of course, after 35 miles an hour, it's unsafe to do so. But up until that point, they will be providing free rides to shelters via Lynx.
We take you now to look at some traffic this morning in Clearwater. This is along I-75. I'm looking at the map right now. It's I-75 right near 275 in the Belle Chase, Oak Grove area. We have lots of people heading out this morning, heeding those evacuation warnings. But as they leave, they're also dealing with an early morning crash. You can see some rescue crews off to the right-hand shoulder and right-hand lane blocking that. So we are seeing still more people leaving the West Coast, maybe moving north and inland. We'll continue to monitor all traffic with those tolls suspended this morning.
4:39 on this early Tuesday morning. We'll have, of course, the latest with Hurricane Milton after the break on this continuous coverage here on Channel 9.
We are tracking Hurricane Milton on this Tuesday morning at 4:42. All eyes on that track. Good morning to you. I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Kirsten Delgado. Overnight, that storm downgraded to a Category 4, and we're just under 20 minutes away from the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center at 5 a.m., Brian.
Yeah, and we have that advisory in already. So again, all right on track. No significant changes with this. What we were talking about overnight. So you can see it here. Winds holding at about 155. May go down a little, up a little as the day goes on. So the very latest track takes it right across us. We're not going to see that change a whole lot. This is coming at us one way or another. Should be a Category 4 or Category 5. It'll fluctuate. These things, they like to breathe. The eyes kind of cycle through. Sometimes you get a different eye. That's what happened overnight. And with that, we're going to see the fluctuations. But by tomorrow afternoon, winds will be near 145 miles per hour. We really needed to a weekend. It will a little bit, not a whole lot, but it will should weaken to about a Category 3 by the time it makes landfall. This track a little bit slower. That's the only difference, but we've been kind of highlighting that slower trend the last day or two. So this has a landfall right around midnight tomorrow night, then coming right through central Florida, then off of our coast, still as a hurricane just off our coast as we work our way into Thursday afternoon. So getting a look at everything we're seeing here, you can see again, all of this is going to be moving its way toward us. This is going to be a very large hurricane. It's a little bit compact now. It's going to actually spread out some as it approaches. So no real way to escape it. It is already starting to make its little turn to the east-northeast. So it is staying on track, which means it's coming at us. And you get a look at that here. Here's tropical future track. You see where it is now. This is today. Let me take you out in time. This is by the time we get into later today. This will be north of Cuba as we go out in time further by tomorrow morning. This is tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Now, tomorrow morning, there'll be sometimes we get some rain, sometimes you could get out and about, but we're going to start to see some of the rain bands starting to work in at times, not high winds in the morning. But once we hit the afternoon, that's when it's going to get closer to making landfall. This is 8 p.m., so after 8 p.m., we should see that landfall right near Sarasota, Anna Maria Island. And in these rain bands moving in later in the day tomorrow, tropical storm winds, but then we're going to get the true hurricane conditions here in central Florida. A lot of times we get kind of tropical storm winds. This time we are getting a hurricane. The angle of this taking it right near the Tampa area and then right across us. So you can see here the landfall looks to be right around midnight tomorrow. So a little bit slower, but still same spot near Tampa Bay, Anna Maria Island, Sarasota. Very heavy weather overnight. We're looking at the worst weather tomorrow night. The hurricane will be on top of us. Winds will be gusting in some of our counties to near 100 miles per hour tomorrow night. A little bit scary overnight as a hurricane works through. We'll be losing power. You see here by the time we hit 3 in the morning on Thursday, the hurricane on top of us, moving right through, still along our coast at 8 on Thursday morning. We're still dealing with some hurricane conditions even on Thursday morning. Yeah, there's going to be some drier air getting in, and then later in the day it'll move offshore, but then we have that onshore flow that's going to pile up the water along our coast. That's why that surge is going to be a little higher in Flagler County, 3 to 5 feet, 2 to 4 though, Volusia into Brevard, and that's why they're making some of those evacuations along our immediate coastline, and we'll have more information on that ahead. So getting a look at some of these winds. This is 3 o'clock tomorrow. Things start to pick up, 20, 30 mile per hour winds, but they really pick up tomorrow night. The center getting closer to landfall. Some of the winds around 9 o'clock, 50 in Haines City, about 41 in Leesburg, 45 in the Villages. Higher gusts, though, if you're getting those rain bands, the gusts will be higher. And then we're going to see this moving in. Look at the winds here. This is by 2 in the morning on Thursday morning. So right around midnight tomorrow night, the winds around 100 in Tampa. The gust will be higher than that. Winds around 60 in the Villages, 64 Claremont, 50 in Orlando, 60 as we get toward Kenansville, near 50 in Palm Bay, higher gust. And then the center of this will be moving right across Hunters Creek, very close to Orlando. And you see the winds 60, 70 miles per hour, 75 as we work our way into Cocoa Beach. Some of the gusts could be pushing 90 at this time early on our Thursday morning, and then offshore by the time we get into Thursday morning, 9 o'clock sitting offshore of us, but still tropical storm conditions are still going to be with us on Thursday morning. So we're going to deal with this late tomorrow night into Thursday. Now that means widespread power outages. All of us running that high risk. Here's the very latest track, and it hasn't really changed much, taking the center of this thing right on top of us here in Central Florida. So what does that mean? What's going to happen here? Well, power loss is likely, down branches, down trees, and we're going to have some of that flooding, of course. Not only will we get some flooding, we're going to get some flooding along the coast as the seas will be building, no doubt. A little bit of that surge, too. But inland, some spots, we're going to take on some water. It's not, we don't live in New Orleans. We don't have levees or anything like that. We shouldn't be cutting through attics, but we are going to see some water, and that's why some folks are taking some of those sandbag precautions, especially if you live near water, if you're on a lake or something like that. You know the spots, and if you're new to the area, check with a friend or neighbor and say, hey, does this part of my street flood? You know, do we get flooding in this part of our apartment complex? They've got a good handle on that. So best to be where you need to be by tomorrow morning, maybe tomorrow midday, to be in place, because the heaviest weather will start to work in late tomorrow. We go county by county. Marion, Sumter Lake with the track kind of moving overhead. We're going to see the worst weather as we work our way into late tomorrow, into Thursday morning. Power loss, some of the gusts to about 90 miles per hour. Some trees, and not all of our trees. We're not getting wiped off the map with this. We'll have trees down, but we are getting a true hurricane. Same thing, Seminole, Orange, Osceola. We're going to see some of those winds right around 90 at times. Some of the gusts near 90 miles per hour. 5 to 10 inches of rain. Now, it's going to be hard to pinpoint. North of the center, that's where we'll see some of the heaviest rain. So we just need to really see kind of where this center will track on shore. That surge in Flagler, as I mentioned, 3 to 5 feet. Volusia and Brevard about 2 to 4. Gusts could be around 80 to 85 along our coast all the way through Thursday, since this thing has slowed up a little bit. Now back to this morning, we have a couple of those spotty showers around. Planning for our day, about a 50 to 60% chance of scattered showers and storms with us. So at times we'll see some rain. So taking you through it, your 7-day forecast on your screen. Late tomorrow night, hurricane conditions, and even early Thursday, we'll have those hurricane conditions with us. I do like to look ahead to some better news, finding some positive news in the forecast. The weekend will be absolutely gorgeous, of course. A lot of us will be doing a cleanup, but it will be a little bit cooler too, which is good because a lot of us will be without power. 80 the high on Friday, and the overnight lows will be comfortable. If you don't have power, the overnight lows will be comfy. They'll be running in the 60s, better than some of the upper 70s we've been dealing with. So trying to find at least some positive news in weather at the end of this. But all that new information flooding in from overnight. So I want to get into the specifics, more city by city specifics for us, what to do with the kids as well, how they can help out during this. We'll cover that ahead. It's going on 4:50. Kirsten.
All right, Brian, getting a taste of fall on the other side of this storm. Well, all of us across Central Florida, of course, are preparing and taking Milton very seriously.
Daytona Beach residents doing the same. Channel 9's Sam Martello joins us live along Beach Street this morning. And Sam, a lot of people heeding those warnings from local officials there.
Yeah, Alexa, they are, and we have a lot to cover here in Volusia County. Now, I do want to start with probably one of the most important things this morning is there are some evacuation zones here in Volusia County. You see this bridge here behind me. Areas east of the Intracoastal Waterway, those are in an evacuation zone. So almost everything east of that bridge is going to be an evacuation zone starting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Also, manufactured and mobile homes, low-lying and flood-prone areas and campsites and RV parks around Volusia County starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow, those are going to be evacuation zones. Now, if you are needing to evacuate, and you need to go to a shelter, there are multiple shelters across Volusia County where you're going to be able to go. There's multiple middle and high schools in the area for the general public. Some of those are also pet friendly, so you can check into those. There's also some special shelters for those with special needs, like if you're electricity dependent, you can go ahead and check into those as well. Now, another thing, flooding had been a big issue. Hurricanes Ian and Nicole, when those came through in 2022 along Beach Street, which is where we are this morning, a lot of the businesses were severely damaged from that. So again, heeding the warnings of getting prepared. You can see this business here this morning boarded up, they're tarped up, and if you go over this tarp here, you can see they have the sandbags pushed up against the door. Residents are going to be able to get sandbags today as well around multiple areas in Volusia County. There is some assigned fire stations that are going to be self-serve sandbag locations today. Residents can get 10 sandbags, bring your own shovel, but they're going to be self-serve from 8 o'clock this morning to 5 o'clock this evening. So again, we've been saying today is the final day to make those hurricane preparations. If you think you're concerned about some flooding in your homes and you need some sandbags, today is the day to grab them. And one more thing I want to mention, there is going to be a curfew, and you can see the roadways are pretty quiet here this morning at 4:52. That is how Volusia County first responders want these roads to stay starting Wednesday night at 8 o'clock and going into Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. They have this curfew enacted. They want people to follow it. And they say if you don't, violations can result in up to $500 in fines or imprisonment for up to 60 days. So just listen to that warning, follow the curfew, don't be on the roadways if you don't need to. Again, today, final day to make those hurricane preparations. There's still resources available for you to do that here in Volusia County. We're going to be sticking around throughout the day, bring you any updates if they happen. But for now, live in Daytona Beach, Sam Martello, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Sam, thank you. And if you haven't yet, now's the time to start those preps for Milton.
It'll be beginning and final day for those preps if you haven't already. Florida's CFO, Jimmy Petronas, though, is listing off some important items to keep in mind while you prepare.
Petronas says make sure your car or truck is topped off with fuel. Keep cash on hand in case some of those card systems are down for a long period of time. Of course, build an emergency kit at home and make sure it is easily accessible from where you'll be hunkering down. Check in on family, friends, loved ones, neighbors. Make sure you can get them anything they need for that preparation. You can find more ways to get ready for the storm by heading to WFTV.com.
Meantime, shows at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts have been actually canceled and rescheduled ahead of the storm.
Performances scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday have been postponed or now canceled. Here are the shows impacted. They're on your screen right now. If you have any questions about shows canceled or postponed, you can call that number on your screen. Also, Advent Health School of the Arts classes have been suspended starting tomorrow through Thursday. Local governments here in Central Florida are preparing for direct impacts from Hurricane Milton.
Now, we joined the Seminole County Emergency Operations Center to see how they're preparing ahead of Milton.
This is a serious situation. We need to pay attention. It's often that we don't, as many of us being natural Floridians, we take these things for granted that it's going to be an easy, simple pass. That may not be the case with this storm.
Seminole County residents should know the county is already staging assets to aid in the recovery after the storm. They're staging fuel to come into the area immediately following it. Seminole County Public Works is clearing drainage systems ahead of the storm to prevent any flooding. Additionally, all Seminole County schools and non-essential offices will be closed both Wednesday and Thursday.
And Lake County has been reaching out to people with special needs ahead of the storm as well.
They want to see what their plans are for Milton and whether they need resources or help getting to a shelter. The county's Emergency Operations Center plans to fully staff all departments for inbound calls so people can get the help they need. As those workers prepare for the hurricane, so are Lake County families. We caught up with people at the sandbag site at the Hickory Point Recreation Complex yesterday.
There's just a little bit of flood, just a little bit of tropical rain. We can get water into our garage. So now with this storm, I'm kind of concerned a little bit about, losing some of our values.
Lake County's sandbag sites are open from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. People can get 10 bags per household. Just remember, bring your own shovel. We show you now some of the traffic leaving Wesley Chapel. Here's a live look. This is in Pasco County. This is I-75 moving northbound. If you're familiar with the area, it's right there near State Road 56 and 275, not far from the Tampa Premium Outlets. We have a gridlock here in Wesley Chapel as a lot of people from the West Coast are trying to move north and move inland to heed some of those evacuation orders, and even those not in evacuation areas, Kirsten, are trying to get out because they want to be safe.
Those are going to be, this is going to be an issue all morning long. We saw issues, of course, early this morning. We got here at 1 a.m. and been on air. You see people going onto the shoulder there to try to get out of it. But the reality is, as we get closer to the point of people needing to be in place, we're going to have more and more images like that of just traffic looking absolutely nuts.
And the tolls are suspended, so that does provide a little bit of financial relief. This is a very difficult time. So again, those tolls are suspended across West and Central Florida. You can count on us to keep you updated on everything we're seeing on the roads, and of course, airports, trains, as we see these impacts ahead of Milton.
We'll have continuous coverage here on Channel 9 right after the break.